Environment Minister yesterday only and congratulated our Chief Minister also, sir.
Yeah, it's very good, I think. A lot of your good efforts have paid dividends. So it's a very nice thing that people are diverting their thought process now.
And so we will also be joined by former mission director of the Jal Jeevan Mission, Shri Bharat Lalji. And so he has done a remarkable work, taking all this Jal Jeevan Mission to such a platform, sir.
Mr. Ravi Singh has joined, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Ravi Singh ji. Ravi Singh ji, sir, is heading the WWF.
Namaskar. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting. Thank you for inviting me.
Very good morning, sir.
Mr. Kala is also joined us, sir. Yeah. Very good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, sir. We are really honored, sir. Former Director General Forest and Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And sir, superannuated in 2007. And still, sir, we see the interest of sir that he has always been very active in supporting all these activities. So welcome, sir. And so we are also having Mr. Pema Gamsho. He is presently Director General of International Center for Integrated Mountain Development and Intergovernmental Organizations of 8 Himalayan countries with headquarters at Kathmandu. And he has been sir, former Agriculture and Forest Minister of Bhutan also, sir. And we are also having sir Shri Jagdish Chandra ji. Is the Principal Chief Conservator Forest and Chief Wildlife Warden, Government of Haryana, sir. And certainly, sir, all the support from the Wetland International South Asia by Dr. Ritesh Singh. And at 12, sir, we will be joined by Mr. Ricky Cage. He is a Grammy Award winner also, and he has been ambassador also for a number of UN organizations, and during the climate change event also he has played live performances also in New York.
All right, so Saxena sir, should we begin? We are just waiting for a green signal from your end.
Yeah, Achal, you can start.
All right, thank you so very much. I would like to tell you all that we are live on YouTube, and the day will be super exciting because we are joined by some great personalities today. With the due permission of our guests present here, we would like to record the session and start with today's webinar. Welcome back to our 4th day webinar series. It is once again so exciting and overwhelming to see the enthusiasm and active engagement of our participants. Thank you for being with us throughout these complete webinar series. A very warm, cozy, I must say, pleasant morning once again to our esteemed guests and other respected dignitaries. Adar, Abhinandan, Abhar. Namaskar, Sat Shri Akal, hello everybody. I'm glad to welcome you all to this most auspicious event of the day, where we are celebrating World Wetlands Day 2022, a complete webinar series with the motto, Wetlands Action for People and Nature. A call to take action for wetlands is the focus of this year's World Wetlands Day. मैं आप सभी का आज इस खास अवसर पर दिल से हार्दिक स्वागत करती हूँ। जैसे कहते हैं ना कि जल ही जीवन है, कि जहाँ पानी होता है वहाँ जीवन होता है। जी हाँ, वेटलैंड्स मानवता की सांस्कृतिक विरासत के रूप में महत्वपूर्ण योगदान देते हैं और इनका हमारी आस्था और प्रथाओं के साथ भी गहरा संबंध है। ये वास्तव में हमारी प्राकृतिक संपदा और तरल संपत्ति का एक महत्वपूर्ण हिस्सा है। Wetlands play a critical role in maintaining many natural cycles and supporting a wide range of biodiversity. They do purify and replenish our water and provide the fish and rice that feed billions. They serve as a natural sponge against flooding and drought, protect our coastlines, and help fight climate change. So today's 4th day webinar is on the theme creating synergies between wetlands and water management. So basically, wetlands and water shines a spotlight on wetlands as a source of fresh water and encourages actions to restore them and stop their loss. Water and wetlands are connected in an inseparable coexistence that is obviously important to life, our well being, and health of our planet. Thank you so very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, without a further ado, it's time for the opening remarks by Dr. Vivek Saxena ji, Indian Forest Service Officer. He is the Managing Director, Haryana Forest Development Corporation, Government of Haryana, and ex-country head, International Union for Conservation of Nature, that is IUCN India. I would also like to share here quickly that Sir holds a PhD degree in climate change mitigation and adaptation potential of agroforestry in northern plains of India. He has been associated with the Forest Department for more than 25 years and has served as a Deputy Inspector General of Forest, Chief General Manager of Haryana Forest Development Corporation, Additional Chief Conservator of Forest, Country Representative for IUCN. He has many laurels to his name, from presenting to publishing at national, international levels, and he has been a very important part of the Forest Department Haryana, and he has served the organization with modesty. So now I would like to request Sir to kindly give his opening remarks and brief all of us about the webinar series on wetlands, and welcome all the participants in the conference. You may take over, Sir.
Thank you, Achal. And at the outset, I welcome all the distinguished dignitaries, panelists, and participants for joining this webinar series. And especially today, being the Saturday and also the holiday of the Vasant Panchami. So I wish everyone a very happy Vasant Panchami also. Even in spite of that, enthusiasm and support which has been generated, this is really very encouraging for our everyone. And sir, this wetland day, which is celebrated every year on 2nd of February 2022. This year it assumes significance that in last year only in October, even the United Nations now has officially adopted that 2nd February to be celebrated as a World Wetland Day. And this is the first World Wetland Day after the adoption of United Nations as a UN World Wetland Day. Moreover, sir, since Government of Haryana, with the support of the Wetland International South Asia, we organize a series of webinars starting from 24th of February, and today is the last episode of this webinar series. And we also had a physical event on 2nd of February at Sultanpur National Park, Gurugram. And coming to this background, that though everybody is aware that this Ramsar Convention, which is was adopted, now more than 171 countries, they are part of this Ramsar Convention. And in India, till now, we had 47 Ramsar sites. 2 sites were declared on 2nd of February itself, one in Gujarat and one in Uttar Pradesh. And for Haryana, it is a matter of pride that Haryana, being under primary agriculture state with lot of urbanization going on and lot of other pressures, that first time in Haryana last year, sir, 2 Ramsar sites were designated. One is Sultanpur National Park and other is Bhindawas Wildlife Sanctuary, that is in Jhajjar district. Sultanpur National Park is just about 50 kilometers from Delhi, and that Bhindawas Wildlife Sanctuary is about 90 kilometers from Delhi. So very important, sir, lot of migratory birds count, and especially with the rapid urbanization, when we are all facing different type of challenges, and the water is becoming very key issue, and that we have to ensure how to have the sustainable sources of water. And especially when we talk about the Jal Jeevan Mission, we are happy to have Shri Bharat Lalji also today, the former mission director of Jal Jeevan Mission, and that has been his passionate project, and the way he has driven it. And especially, sir, when we talk of the sustainable sources of the water, and water is the lifeline, everybody knows. But in the pace of urbanization, somehow the role of wetlands has not been recognized that much. Because if we see that trees are our lungs, though that's why we give a lot of emphasis on the tree plantation and afforestation. But at the same time, if the trees are the lungs, then uh, wetlands, they are the kidneys. So the filtration and all those things, that the important role which wetlands play, that traditionally was there, because in each and every village there used to be village ponds. But with the times, industrialization, the wastewater disposal, effluents, that all resulted in pollution and to say disappearance of these wetlands, and that is really challenging. And I am also happy that our former chairperson, National Green Tribunal, Justice Satwant Kumarji, who has really taken this environmental related issues to the public, to sensitize each and everyone through various type of pronouncements and judgments, and sensitizing them people and realizing the governance mechanism, that why wetlands are important. And because of that, though sometimes there are challenges, because the development, from the development perspective, the governance, people who are involved in the governance, they sometimes see that these are some type of obstacles or constraints. Because from that urban development perspective, we see that these areas, wetlands, they are some sort of a vacant areas, and somehow we hardly took care of their catchment and all. And these wetlands have started disappearing. They want to have different type of urban development projects, like housing projects and all, without concern about that what will be the role of wetlands and what type of ecosystem services they provide to sustain our lifeline. And one of the example is this Bhatkal wetland in Faridabad district itself. The people still remember that 10, 12 years back, they used to do boating. Now, with all those construction activities, that Bhatkal has just become some sort of a cricket or playground sort of thing. Similarly, other wetlands also. So wetlands are that way very, very important. And I think, sir, we have a very distinguished dignitaries. And I will just like to also update that the series of webinar which we started on 24th, we had on the theme the Ramsar sites, managing our crown jewels. And we had a very distinguished panelist that day also. And further that, sir, we had on 27th wetlands as a nature-based solutions for climate change, in which former Director General Forest and Special Secretary Shri Siddhant Das ji, and he is also former member of National Green Tribunal. He had also joined, and from IUCN Bangladesh country head, Mr. Rakeem had joined, Mr. Dhananjay Mohan, Director Wildlife Institute, Mr. Ravinder Singh from the GIZ, Dr. J.R. Bhatt, who is advisor in the Ministry Environment, Forest, Climate Change. And then on 29th, the theme was taking wetland conservation beyond protected areas was the theme, because most of these wetlands, they fall outside the formal governance mechanism. So 95% of the wetland, they are there, which are not under any forest areas or any reserve forest or national park sanctuaries, and they play a very, very important role. And so that we discussed about the wetland conservation is very important, and we have to think from the landscape basis when we approach to ensure that services are sustained. So that day, sir, we had Shri C.P. Goyal, who is a present Director General of Forest and Special Secretary, and Dr. S.P. Yadav, who heads the National Tiger Conservation Authority, and who is also Additional Director General Wildlife as well as Forest Conservation. Dr. Ajit Patnaik, who is a renowned person in respect of the management of wetlands, especially in Chilka. So all these distinguished panelists were there. And sir, further to that, on 2nd of February, we had a physical program where Union Environment and Forest Minister Shri Bhupender Yadav ji was there, Haryana Chief Minister Shri Manohar Lal Khattar ji was there, Union Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Shri Chaube ji, and Haryana Forest and Wildlife Minister Shri Kanwar Pal ji, and all the senior dignitaries, they all presented with large gathering for the civil society organization and officials. So, and today, sir, we have this last part of this webinar series, and we really are fortunate to have such eminent panelists to take this discussion, so that based on all these deliberations, we will be able to submit some of the proceedings which can certainly be valuable input for the future, shaping the future guidelines, future policy making. And with these, sir, opening remarks, I, sir, once again welcome all the eminent panelists as well as all the participants. Thank you very much. Over to Archana.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your wonderful remarks, and we congratulate you for some great achievements. Also, it's a great initiative taken by you and team for organizing these webinar series where people from various different domains and areas have come together to share their opinions and such valuable inputs. Thank you very much, sir. Moving further, Shri Kanwar Palji, our Honorable Minister, Forest, Education, Tourism, Parliamentary Affairs, Hospitality, Art and Cultural Affairs, Government of Haryana, has conveyed something special on World Wetlands Day. As Saxena sir also mentioned that he was a part of the event in celebrating World Wetlands Day. So let's have a look. Can we have the video, please?
और प्रकृति को संरक्षण किस प्रकार से, कई बार हमें लगता है
Can you please play the video again? Thank you.
Acha, let me try it.
All right, that's okay. We were honored by the presence of some great personalities on 2nd of February. As we all...
Acha,
yes.
can you confirm that the
yes.
screen is visible?
Yes, absolutely.
आज ये वेटलैंड डे जो पूरी दुनिया में मनाया जा रहा है, आज यहाँ पर माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी और केंद्रीय मंत्री जी आज इस अवसर पर यहाँ उपस्थित हैं। मैं उनका हार्दिक अभिनंदन, हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूँ। और प्रकृति को संरक्षण किस प्रकार से, कई बार हमें लगता है कि शायद बहुत सी चीजों की हमें लगता है कि जरूरत नहीं है, लेकिन परमात्मा ने जो भी चीज बनाई है उसका कोई ना कोई महत्व है। मैं अभी जो मुझे भाषण दिया गया था उसको पढ़ रहा था, तो उसमें ये भी लिखा कि ये कार्बन को भी सोखता है। मैंने तो सोचा भी नहीं था कि कार्बन को भी सोखता होगा। और फ्लड को रोकने में भी बहुत बड़ी भूमिका है इसकी, क्योंकि ये एक ऐसा पानी है कि यहाँ आ जाएगा तो वो नीचे भी चला जाएगा और नीचे से वो ऊपर भी आ जाता है, तो उसमें बहुत बड़ी भूमिका इसकी है। जो बहुत से जीव हैं जो यहाँ पर ही पाए जाते हैं।
All right, thank you very much. Am I audible, Dhruv?
Yes.
All right, so moving on, thank you very much. So this was one of the message that was delivered by Shri Kanwar Palji, our Honorable Minister. So moving further, as I mentioned also before, that we had a successful event at Sultanpur celebrating World Wetlands Day. So there is another video message by our Honorable Chief Minister Haryana, Shri Manohar Lal Khattarji, who attended the event on World Wetlands Day and graced the occasion by his presence. Can we quickly have his video message, please?
बंधुओं, भाइयों बहनों, पत्रकार व छायाकार मित्रों, जैसा बताया कि आज ये एक ऐसा दिवस है, केवल दिवस ही नहीं है, केवल हम एक समारोह ही नहीं कर रहे, बल्कि आज एक विशेष प्रकार के संकल्प लेने का दिवस है। क्योंकि प्रकृति के गोद में जब हम देखते हैं, हम सबका निवास है, केवल मनुष्यों का निवास ऐसा नहीं है, बल्कि हमारे इर्द गिर्द वन्य प्राणी, जीव जंतु, वृक्ष आदि कितना ही ऐसा प्रकृति का स्रोत है जिनको समन्वय करके हम यदि चलेंगे तो हमारा जीवन सुखी होगा। पृथ्वी पर हम समझे कि हम अकेले रहते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है, बल्कि हमारे इर्द गिर्द हमेशा हमारा सहयोग करने वाले वन्य प्राणी भी रहते हैं। ये पृथ्वी हम सबकी है, केवल हमारी नहीं है। इसलिए आज के दिन ये जो वेटलैंड दिवस है, इसके पीछे की जो भूमिका बताई गई है कि पृथ्वी और ये पानी, ये दोनों हमारे लिए उपयोगी हैं, तो दोनों का संरक्षण करना, दोनों का समन्वय बैठाना, दोनों का तालमेल बैठाना, ये बहुत आवश्यक है। अब ये जो आर्द्रा यानी एक प्रकार का जो पानी का सारा प्रवाह है, हम जानते हैं कि एक प्राकृतिक चक्र इसका है। उस चक्र में हम पानी को उपयोग करते हैं और उस पानी को देखा जाए तो दूषित भी करते हैं। वो दूषित पानी जब इस प्रकार के वेटलैंड्स में, इस प्रकार के स्थानों पर जाता है, तो ये जो पक्षी हैं और ये जो इस प्रकार के जीव हैं, ये उस पानी की सफाई भी करते हैं और सफाई करने के बाद उस पानी का रीयूज करने के लिए भी हमें उपलब्ध होता है। तो इस प्रकार इस प्राकृतिक चक्र के पूरा करने में इनका जो हमको एक जो लाभ मिलता है, इस लाभ को लेने के लिए आज हमारे लिए, जैसा मैंने कहा, एक संकल्प का दिन है कि हम संकल्प करें कि प्रकृति के साथ छेड़छाड़ नहीं करेंगे। प्रकृति हमारे लिए बहुत ही एक ऐसा विषय है जिसका संतुलन बना रहेगा तो हमारा जीवन शुद्ध सात्विक रहेगा, स्वस्थ रहेगा, लंबे जीवन की हम कल्पना कर सकते हैं। लेकिन इस पर चिंता थोड़ी करने की आवश्यकता है। इधर लोगों का ध्यान नहीं है। विकास के नाम पर कई बार हम इस प्रकृति के साथ खेलते भी हैं और इसको यानी विनाश की तरफ भी ले जाते हैं। हमने हरियाणा में भी इसके ऊपर बहुत अपने प्रकल्प खड़े किए हैं। तालाब हमारे हरियाणा के अंदर बड़ी संख्या में है, लगभग 18,000 तालाब हैं। हम देखते हैं कि पहले तालाबों की खुदाई होती थी। खुदाई होने के बाद जो वहां सिल्टिंग थी, जो चिकनी मिट्टी जमती थी, उसको 1-1, 2-2 फुट निकाल देते थे। वर्षा के बाद वो पानी फिर से रिचार्जिंग होता था। तालाब कभी भी फुल ओवरफ्लो नहीं होते थे, पानी नीचे चला जाता था। आज हमारे सारे तालाब, लगभग 6,000 तालाब ऐसे हैं जो ओवरफ्लो होते हैं और गंदगी भरी पड़ी रहती है। उनका उपयोग नहीं होता, ना पशुओं के लिए ना मनुष्यों के लिए। उनकी खुदाई ठीक की जाए, उनकी व्यवस्था ठीक की जाए। हमने हरियाणा में पौंड अथॉरिटी बनाई है और पौंड अथॉरिटी के माध्यम से अभी इस वर्ष 1900 तालाब लिए गए हैं। अगले वर्ष की योजना में 2,500 तालाब और ले रहे हैं। 4,500 तालाब इन 2 सालों में ले रहे हैं। धीरे धीरे सभी 6,000 तालाबों के अंदर इसकी जो गंदगी और इसका जो ओवरफ्लो का जो विषय है उसको समाप्त करेंगे, उसकी खुदाई करेंगे ताकि रिचार्जिंग फिर से दोबारा हो सके। कहने को विषय बहुत है, लेकिन मित्रों, भाइयों बहनों, मैं तो आज इस अवसर पर इतना ही कहूंगा कि हम सब संकल्प लें कि प्राकृतिक जो विषय हमारे इतने पुराने काल से चले आ रहे हैं उनको हम उसी प्रकार से चलाएं, उसके अंदर व्यवधान न डालें, किसी प्रकार से विकास के नाम के ऊपर प्रकृति के साथ खिलवाड़ न करें। यदि हम करेंगे तो हमारा अपना जीवन, हमारे आने वाली पीढ़ियों का जीवन सुरक्षित होगा, स्वस्थ होगा। और यदि
ये हम करते हैं तो मानवता के प्रति एक हमारा जो दायित्व है उसको हम पूरा करेंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत आभार।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। बहुत ही खूबसूरत सा संदेश, बहुत ही खूबसूरती से सर ने ये संदेश दिया है कि पृथ्वी केवल हमारी नहीं है बल्कि सभी की है। Moving on, our Honorable Union Minister Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Shri Bhupendra Yadav ji, was also personally present at the event on World Wetlands Day at Sultanpur National Park. Let's see what he has to say through a brief clipping.
आज पूरे दुनिया भर में वेटलैंड डे मनाया जा रहा है। ये वेटलैंड डे की आवश्यकता क्या है? अभी हम लोगों ने यहाँ पर हमारे अहमदाबाद के इसरो का एक एटलस हमने प्रकाशित किया। भारत में लगभग 2 लाख से ऊपर ऐसी जगह जो पानी के छोटे छोटे पॉन्ड है, और जहां पर पानी धीरे धीरे पानी का संचय होने के कारण आसपास का जो स्थान है उसका जल स्तर और जो प्रकृति की शुद्धता, हवा की शुद्धता, हमारे पीने के लिए पानी उपलब्ध रहता है। लेकिन इसमें कुछ ऐसी प्राकृतिक संरचनाएं हैं जिनका संरक्षण होना बहुत आवश्यक है, और वो संरक्षण होना इसलिए आवश्यक है कि अभी हमारे डीजी फॉरेस्ट मेरे को बता रहे थे कि जो फॉरेस्ट है वो तो हमारे बॉडी में लंग्स की तरह है। चौबे साहब वेटलैंड को किडनी कह रहे थे। तो जो हम हवा ले रहे हैं वो इन पेड़ों और फॉरेस्ट के कारण ले रहे हैं, लेकिन जो किडनी है, प्यूरिफिकेशन का काम है, वो ये हमारा वेटलैंड करता है। और हम ये चाहते हैं कि देश में विकास और पर्यावरण दोनों समान रूप से चलें। अगर पर्यावरण को संरक्षण करेंगे तभी हम विकास के पैमानों को आगे पहुंचा सकेंगे। और इसलिए आज वेटलैंड डे पर हम वापस से जो वेटलैंड मित्र के रूप में आपने शपथ ली है कि हमारे तालाब ये हमारी धरोहर है। मैं आपको ये बताना चाहूंगा कि हिंदुस्तान में हमारा लगभग अभी फॉरेस्ट की रिपोर्ट आई है, फॉरेस्ट कवर हमारा बड़ा है, लेकिन फॉरेस्ट कवर के साथ साथ लगभग 4.5% हमारा एरिया ऐसा है जो वेटलैंड है। ये जो 4.5% एरिया हमारा वेटलैंड है, इसमें 1/3 ही फॉरेस्ट में है, 2/3 जो है वो फॉरेस्ट के बाहर है। लेकिन आपको ये आश्चर्य होगा कि आज पूरे देश भर में जो बायोडायवर्सिटी की बात हम कर रहे हैं, और यहाँ बायोडायवर्सिटी का हमारा यहाँ स्टैंड लगा हुआ है, 40% बायोडायवर्सिटी प्रोडक्ट जो है हमारे वेटलैंड में से ही आते हैं। और इसलिए देश की बायोडायवर्सिटी को बचाने के लिए भी हमारे वेटलैंड को बचाना बहुत आवश्यक है। और मैं विश्वास करता हूं कि आज हम क्षेत्र के लोग और इस सरकार के साथ मिलकर के आपके साथ भी माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में जो वेटलैंड का इस संकल्प लिया है, आने वाले समय में मैं विश्वास करता हूं कि आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव में कम से कम 75 झीलों को हम रामासर साइट का दर्जा दिलाने के लिए संकल्पबद्ध है। हमारा विभाग इसके लिए लगा है, इस संकल्प को भी पूरा करेंगे। पर्यावरण और प्रकृति के साथ हम अपने वेटलैंड को बचा करके अपने देश के पर्यावरण को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
जय हिंद, जय भारत। आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। I really want to thank the dignitaries who were present on the World Wetlands Day and who have actually conveyed such strong, powerful message regarding the conservation of the wetlands. Thank you. To further spiff up the concept of climate change, we have something special for you all. Presenting Prithvi Manthan, the second churning, which fuses Shiv Tandav Stotram with the concept of climate change and pollution. I would like to tell you that this video has bagged an international award and the screening would happen soon in Bangkok. Special credit goes to Mrs. Susmita Dasji, renowned singer and filmmaker. Can we have the video, please?
जलाटवेगलज्जल प्रवाह पावितस्थले गले वलम्ब्य लम्बितं भुजङ्गतुङ्गमालिकां डमड्डमड्डमड्डमन्निनादवड्डमर्वयं चकार चण्डताण्डवं तनः पुनः शिवम् जटाकटाह सम्भ्रमं धमङ्गिलिम्पञ्झरी विलोलवीचि वल्लरी विराजमानमोहनी ध्वगद्धगद्ध धगज्ज्वलल्ललाटपट्टपावके किशोरचन्द्रशेखरे मामा द्रव्य पिपासु नित्य निरंतर द्रव्य पिपासु नित्य निरंतर करते पृथ्वी मंथन इसके कारण खतरे में है अपना मानव जीवन उद्योग क्रांति इस पृथ्वी पर उद्योग क्रांति इस पृथ्वी पर कैसा संकट लाई लोभ और लालच ने कैसी मति भरमाई हम सबकी जीवन शैली से संकट गहराया है धरणी और धरणीधर पर गहरा संकट आया है
बढ़ते उद्योग फैला रहा है रोज रोज प्रदूषण
नहीं रहा है गंगा जल भी पहले जैसा निर्मल सहस्रलोचन प्रभुत्य शेषलेख शिखर प्रसून धूलि धोरणी विधुसरांगी पीठ भुजंग राजमालया निवद्धुजाट जूटक श्रिये चिराय जायकं चकोर बंधु शेखर ललाट चत्वर ज्वलत् धनञ्जय स्फुलिं प्रभा निपीत पञ्चशायकं नमन्दिलिं पनायकं सुधामयुक्तलेखया विराजमान शेखरं महाकपालि सम्पदे शिरोजटालमस्तुना हे गंगाधर हम सब का तुम जल्दी बनो सहारा सागर मंथन विष को तुमने अपने कंठ उतारा
पृथ्वी मंथन के विष को भी अपने कंठ उतारो या फिर हमको इस विष को पीने की शक्ति दो
कराल भाल पट्टिका धगत् 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 ज्वलत् धनञ्जयाहुतिकृत प्रचण्ड पञ्चशायके धरा धरेन्द्र नन्दिनी कुचक्र चित्र पट्टक प्रकल्पनेक शिल्पिनी त्रिलोचने रतिर्ममा जयद्वद प्रविभ्रम भ्रमत्भुजङ्गमस्वसद्विनिर्गतं प्रमस्फुरत् कराल भाल भव्यमार्धिनि धिमि धिमि ध्वनन्द्रयङ्कतुङ्गमङ्गलाध्वनिक्रम प्रवर्तिता प्रचण्ड ताण्डव शिवा
शिवम
That was absolutely stunning with such a deep meaning. I would like to extend a special thanks to Dr. Siddhant Das ji and Dr. Vivek Saxena ji for contributing a lot towards this video. Also, I would like to quickly tell you about this Prithvi Manthan. It has a very strong positive message, as you must have seen, particularly from the governance point of view. The woman and the child represent the human race, that is the current and the future generations, and the three demons represent global warming, pollution, and unsustainable lifestyle. Threatened by these demons, humanity is praying to Lord Shiva to either kill the demons or to empower them to control those. Lord Shiva here empowers humanity by providing a sword to drive away the demons and protect the next generation. And the same woman is shown as humanity and Lord Shiva because we are invoking that Shiva, Lord Shiva within us. And Lord Shiva symbolizes the governance system and the sword, the environmental safeguards. The essence, the whole importance of this Prithvi Manthan song is sustainable development, which is very much possible if environmental safeguards are adhered to. So it has such a deeper meaning. Hats off to the team. So, ladies and gentlemen, now without any further delay, it's my honor now to invite Honorable Justice Swatantra Kumarji, former Chairperson, National Green Tribunal, former Justice, Supreme Court of India. Exemplifying about his credentials, he has practiced in various high courts as well as the Honorable Apex Court of India, being enrolled with the Delhi Bar Council. Also, he has served as an additional district and session judge at District Court Shimla and additional judge of the Delhi High Court, Punjab and Haryana High Court. Honorable Justice Swatantra ji thereafter was appointed as Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court in 2007, whereafter he was appointed as Judge Supreme Court of India. In 2012, upon being appointed as Chairperson, National Green Tribunal, he resigned as Judge of the Apex Court of India. Sir, your presence is very special. Welcome. You may share your virtuous thoughts with us. You may take over. I hope sir is with us.
Yes, yes.
You're absolutely audible, sir.
Thank you. Well, the distinguished guests, Mr. Saxena, the panelists, and the audience. Good morning to all of you. Firstly, I am thankful for this invitation to share some of my views with this distinguished gathering and on a subject which is universally so important that it will be unfortunate that we, the people of this planet, do not respect the nature, our resources, to the extent to which we should. Nature is like your mother. Not like, in fact, is the mother of the humanity. Like mother tolerates all evils caused by its children. But when Mother Nature retaliates, the consequences are unmeasurable and they can practically lead to disasters in humanity all over the globe. The topic that has been the subject of today's deliberations is between the wetland and the water management. As per the Wetland Conservation and Management Rules of 2017, wetland means an area of marsh, fen, pithand, or water, whether natural or artificial, permanent or temporary, with water that is static or flowing, fresh, brackish, or salt, including areas of marine water, the depth of which at low tide does not exceed 6 meters, but does not include river channels paddy fields, and human-made water bodies, etc. So if you see, the definition is as wide as it could be. The importance of the wetlands is wildlife habitat, clean drinking water, flood protection, rare plants and animals, recreation opportunities, and shoreline protections. In relation to water management, the wetland marsh ecosystems can become essential components of well-planned water management system. Wetlands, which are primarily seasonal, semi-permanent, and or permanent in nature, wetlands are natural flood storage sites which can attenuate flood peaks and storm flows by temporarily storing water surface. Wetlands also produce downstream soil erosion, reducing flood flows and encouraging the establishment of marshland vegetation, which is a well-known shoreline protection measures. The preservation or development of wetland system can also provide significant benefits to agriculture by either improving rangelands or increasing hay yields through backflood irrigation projects. Recent studies of wet meadow forage management have shown that by controlling water level, yields can be boosted from about 4.94 tons per hectare to 11.12 tons per hectare, and that is the statistics which speak for itself. In these days of competing needs for a limited resource, planners and managers must be innovative in their approach to water management solutions. Such approach may be simply mean the preservation or development of marshland ecosystem in instances where the ecology and economical aspects of a project are important as engineering. The restoration program with an ecosystem perspective through waste management practices helps in correcting points, non-point sources of pollution wherever and whenever it is possible. The preliminary socio-economic survey carried out in the regions surrounding Hebel Lakes through the valuation method showed high level of dependency on wetlands for groundwater, food, fodder, fish, fuel, and so forth. The high level of dependency on wetlands and poor quality of those wetlands calls for immediate restoration of degraded lakes and appropriate measures for their conservation and management in order to maintain ecological balance in the region. Wetland ecosystems interconnected and interactive with a watershed in Bangalore. The environmental pressure of unplanned urbanization and growing population has taken its toll on wetlands. The study revealed about 35% decline in number and loss in the interconnectivity among wetlands, disrupting the drain network and the hydrological region, leading in some cases to irreversible damage in the wetlands. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a very distinguished specialists from the field who are going to talk to you on the various matters, whether it is wetland management, conservation, restoration strategies and action plans, significance of wetlands, as well as what are we required to do as of today in order to protect wetlands, because they have become an essential part of our life and environmental system. I would like to share with you one or two cases which show how the people, or you can say the citizens, or the population at large treats our natural resources. See, nature includes environment primarily. Environment includes pollution, water, earth management, and most importantly, the wetlands. Wetlands are a link between our day-to-day life and protection of nature. Now, there are three things which one can come up with. That is, the three people who need to take care of it is policy framers, regulatory regimes, and then the citizens. They all have to get together because policy framers are to attain the technologies. As just now you heard your chief minister saying about how to maintain the water bodies or the talabs, which are part of a biodiversity, as well as that the part of the wetlands, how they would be maintained and how they are being wasted. The regulatory authorities must enhance their regulatory regimes in a way that they prove to be effective, and citizens must discharge their duty as our constitution contemplates all three, that is, right to life, the citizens, and the government are directed under the directive principles to protect environment and every possible part of the environment, which obviously include wetlands. Having said about the constitutional importance of our natural resources, nature and environment, now I would tell you about the Bangalore. Now there's a Bangalore, we had the cases where the biggest lake of Bangalore was being polluted, and see the possibility of a great mine, that the wetlands were converted into concrete portions, and the flat owner, the builders, were selling them as special flats overlooking the lakes. Imagine just a little gain of money at what cost? There were more than 682 water bodies in Bangalore, and today there are not even 160. Out of 160, most of them are not usable because of high extent of pollution. Now the wetlands, which are obviously, between the civilization and the natural resources, it's a part of the same situation. They are being converted into regular living parts and therefore wiping out the wetlands completely. Therefore, in this case, the strictures were made, compensation were directed to be taken, and restoration was directed by the tribunal. This will show you that how do you apply the principles of sustainable development as opposed to sheer development at the cost of damaging the nature, and that too irreversibly. Nobody is opposed to the improvement or the development, but that development should not cause nature irreversible damage which cannot be restored. The other matter which I thought we can share with you is with regard to a very small place in Himachal Pradesh, Chamba district, which is Khajjar. Such a beautiful lake having a wide wetland around it, and that has been converted into a junk. Now it's a beautiful place having total forest followed by wetlands, and then there was a small lake. Now that lake seems to be disappearing. The buildings are being made everywhere. There also, despite the injunction order, the damage was done to this lake without any kind of total impunity. This will show you that we are not sensitive towards nature. If we do not maintain the wetlands, if we do not maintain our water bodies and make sure that their interconnectivity and interutilization is adhered to the appropriate standards, the damage will be too much. We will be hurting the dream of Gandhiji, who said that it is greed of the people which is bad for development even. Then he also said that you must give earth to your next generation, if not in a better, at least in the same condition as you got it. So are we doing that? And lastly, I'm reminded of the words of a professor from Harvard who said that we all are lessees of this earth. We are not the owners. Therefore, be lessees, don't become owner. Owner is our nature and God. With these words, I thank everybody for having provided me an opportunity. And I wish that this particular Wetland Day program, spreading over a week, proves to be more successful and suggestive to all concerned authorities for taking appropriate action for the protection of wetlands and their utilization. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Wow, these are such beautiful phrases that have actually made the whole presentation so enlightening. And yes, we are honored by your presence, sir. Nature is something that you mentioned earlier also, that it is the mother of the humanity and it protects us from all the evil. And you have actually thrown light on the importance of wetlands regarding the wildlife habitat, the flood protection, and much more. And yes, we need to adopt some approaches to preserve the same and considering all the aspects that you have just mentioned. And yes, wetlands have become the integral part of our lives. Such great examples you have given us. Thank you very much, sir. Moving on, now let us have the pleasure of listening to the remarks by Shri Bharat Lalji, Secretary Lokpal of India. Talking in brief about his accomplishments, Shri Bharat Lalji hails from Allahabad, Uttar Pradesh, and is presently working as Secretary Lokpal of India. Prior to this, he worked as Founder Mission Director of Jal Jeevan Mission, a flagship program. For a very long period, he has worked in drinking water and sanitation sector, both at the central government and in the state of Gujarat. Post-earthquake in Gujarat, he had set up Water and Sanitation Management Organization in the year 2002 to facilitate potable tap water to every household. This work actually became an example. Success of this initiative has been acknowledged by conferring Prime Minister's Civil Services Award, Commonwealth Association for Public Administration and Management Award, and United Nations Public Service Award. In a state like Gujarat, availability of drinking water is no more an issue. Based on this experience, Government of India has also launched countrywide Jal Jeevan Mission, Har Ghar Jal. Prior to Jal Jeevan Mission, he worked as Additional Secretary, President of India, Shri Ramnath Kovind ji. He also had the privilege of working with Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, since 2001, when he became Chief Minister of Gujarat. Since March 2020, he is also working in the core team managing COVID-19 pandemic caused by coronavirus in the country. Also, I would like to quickly add here that Shri Bharat Lalji would be our chairperson for the panel discussion today. Commendable, sir. We are delighted to have you with us. Please take over. I hope sir is with us. Once again, I would like to invite Shri Bharat Lalji to please take over the virtual platform for us. Yes. So you're not audible. I can see you, but you're not audible.
I think he is rejoining, I think.
Yes, sir. There might be some technical glitch on his part. We will just wait for
Mr.
Sir, to
Saxena,
quickly.
please, I would be leaving if you don't mind, okay?
Yeah. So thank you
No,
very
no,
much,
no,
sir.
it's okay. Please
Yes.
just continue with your program. Thank you, everybody, please.
So we are also having Desh Deepak Verma, sir, former Secretary General of Rajya Sabha and also former Secretary Parliamentary Affairs and Joint Secretary in Ministry Environment, Forest and Climate Change. I think. Thank you very much, sir. And Bharat Lalji is just joining.
Yes. So we are just waiting for Shri Bharat Lalji to rejoin us, I guess. Yes, he's with us. Sir, can you unmute yourself? Please.
Yeah. Good morning, Anchal. Thank you very much. I got disconnected. I think
That's absolutely fine, sir. You may take over.
Thank you very much for your kind words. And Honorable Justice Swatantra Kumar ji, who is a legend in environmental protection. It's a great privilege to be in this meet. My esteemed colleague, PCC of Haryana, Mr. Jagdish Chandar, Mr. Vivek Saxena, other experts, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I think here everybody who's participating in this meet, I think well initiated into conservation, environmental conservation.
All
right, let me quickly check if sir is with us. Sir, you're not audible. Yes.
Sir,
please,
you are mute. You have to unmute, sir, yourself.
Yeah. So let me start. I think there are certain issues, but here in technical issue. So let me first tell you that last month I have handed over the charge of Jal Jeevan Mission, and presently I am working with Lokpal of India as secretary. So views expressed here are basically my personal views. It doesn't represent the organization. Starting with this disclaimer, let me put this way. That last pandemic, COVID-19, I think during that
all right, there. Sir, are you there?
Yeah,
yes.
I am very much.
Yes,
so
yes,
during
sir,
last,
please continue.
During last pandemic, I think we all have realized the value of oxygen. And I think taking from there, I think a lot of awareness has come that yes, forests need to be protected. Greenery has to be increased, as rightly mentioned by other colleagues, that oxygen is required. Honorable Minister mentioned and Honorable Chief Minister mentioned. I don't think we need any kind of another pandemic or any kind of other challenge to realize the value of water. And each and every one of us has to realize the value of water, have to work, and especially wetlands and water bodies, which its importance has already been explained, so I would not like to dwell in those matters. But I think we have to realize that a country like ours, with 17% world population and with less than 4% water resources, so you can understand that how scarce water is and is going to be. So as per my understanding, the government basically have been continuously working to ensure that paucity of water doesn't become a limiting factor in our socio-economic development and quest for high economic growth. Because if you have to remove poverty, if you have to alleviate poverty, it means economic development growth is equally important. And simultaneously, we know that in a country like ours with 1,700 plus districts, 256 districts are basically water stressed. So in this kind of situation where water scarcity water stress is very, very common, I think value of water conservation is very critical. And I think in last few years, you have seen that a campaign has been launched, what we call Jal Shakti Abhiyan, to conserve water, water bodies, and above all, make water everyone's business. So the idea is that people should get involved. there should be more involvement of communities, local leadership, local institutions, civil society, NGOs at ground level in conservation of water and water resources. On the other hand, if you see the utilization pattern of water, roughly 85% water is used in agriculture and only 10% in industry and 5% or 6% in basically drinking water and domestic water. So we have to understand that use in agriculture has huge impact on availability of water to other sector, especially domestic and
Yes, sir. I think you're not audible right now.
sorry, I think there was some disconnection.
Yes, please continue.
So one can see that use of water in domestic sector, in agriculture sector has huge impact on water availability to other sectors, especially domestic and industry. It means water usage in agriculture has to be improved, efficiency has to be improved, and conservation effort is required there, whether it's a change in water use pattern, in cropping pattern, or more technological use, basically in terms of micro irrigation and other mechanism to conserve water. To achieve this goal, I think, please understand that a kind of concept has been developed. And as we know that in a country like ours, in a year, roughly average, we have 25 to 30 days, rainy days. And some few days, basically in upper Himalayas, as where we get snowfall. So in these rainfall and snowfall, whatever we get in these 25 to 30 days, we have to conserve, we have to store, we have to use this water judiciously to manage throughout year. If conservation of water, storage of water is not improved, it is next to impossible to use water throughout the year and achieve water security. And in this context, each and every water body, especially wetlands, because they are widespread throughout the country, I think they are going to play a huge role in achieving water security and ensuring socio-economic development apart from ecological balance and ecological services. Well, people know it, and please, I think in this group, we can understand very well that it is next to impossible to construct big dams because of environmental reasons and anthropological reasons. But our demand for water, because of expanding economic activities, is increasing. Because of lifestyle change, it is increasing. So it means the emphasis has to be on protecting these wetlands, storing more water, and also ensuring basically groundwater recharge. And this might not be out of place to mention here that few years back, when Honorable Justice Swatantra Kumar was chairman of NGT, that time one order was passed basically. And on groundwater extraction, there was a restriction and more better regulation was required and a lot of steps were taken. And as a result, including Jal Shakti Abhiyan, including more rigorous compliances. And as a result, I think we have seen in many states things have improved. In fact, I'll give one example of Gujarat. In fact, since 2002, the water conservation effort which was taken basically, and end of the day, it was basically rainwater harvesting, artificial recharge by involving local people. And as a result, water table in Gujarat since 2008 started increasing. And except in few blocks, I think more than 185 to 86 blocks, water table has started increasing. So Jal Shakti Abhiyan was started with this objective. Similarly, if we have to collect water, we have to store it. It means, and rainwater harvesting has to be done. It means country has to become first open defecation free. I think it doesn't make any sense that first we pollute the water bodies and water, and then purify the water, treat it for our consumption. So sanitation program basically, or what we call Swachh Bharat Mission, it aimed at stopping open defecation, making country open defecation free, and water collected in our water bodies remains comparatively pure, comparatively clean, and whether we are going to use directly from these water bodies and or through groundwater recharge from aquifers, better quality water is available for domestic use. After Swachh Bharat mission, we launched Jal Jeevan Mission. Basically, the aim is that every rural household in the country should have clean tap water supply in adequate quantity, of prescribed quality on long-term basis with adequate pressure. And I'll give you just few figures. Basically, this program is going to ensure 19.22 crore families living in rural India clean tap water by 2024. When program was launched in August 2019, 3.23 crore household, means less than 17% household were having tap water connection. And kindly appreciate the scale of this project. Basically, that in 2019, 3.23 crore household were having tap water connection. And now every year, more than 3 crore household to be given tap water connection, so that in 5 years, 16 crore rural household are having provision of tap water supply. And please, every year, roughly 25 to 26 lakhs new households are added. So Jal Jeevan Mission is basically, this is the scale of the Jal Jeevan Mission, but more importantly, how to do it. At the end of the day, I think we are going back and giving power to plan, operate, maintain, manage drinking water sources, water supply, grey water collection, treatment and reuse, and operation and maintenance of the system to local community, Gram Panchayat or its subcommittee, what we call Village Water and Sanitation Committee or Pani Samiti. And this kind of decentralization has been done in the country. It started with in Gujarat in 2002, simultaneously under Swajal project in Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, and many other parts of the country, Punjab and southern India and western India. So the same concept has been taken forward, and in every village, 10 to 15 member executive committee of the Gram Sabha to be formed, which is known as Village Water Sanitation Committee, with 50% women members. With 50% women members and 25% representation to scheduled castes and scheduled tribe. So this committee is going to be responsible for village level water management. And its implication is that if this society, the village people, basically, if they are going to prepare their village action plan, which basically also entails drinking water sources augmentation and strengthening, water supply, grey water collection, treatment and reuse, and operation and maintenance. It means we are investing in people, basically, so they become water, sanitation and hygiene enlightened people, and the village becomes water, sanitation and hygiene enlightened village. I think that is the way forward under this program, which has been envisaged and which is very, very critical. Simultaneously, at national level, all NGOs, civil society members, including academic institutions, trust, foundation have been involved as sector partner. And on the ground level, it is basically local NGOs who are involved as implementation support agency. Under Jal Jeevan Mission, effort is under Jal Jeevan also being made to ensure that the country's knowledge base on water management improves. So in this direction, one national institute at Kolkata is being set up. It is basically proposed to be named as National Institute of Water and Sanitation. 2 IITs, IIT Madras and IIT Gandhinagar, basically where they're going to be center of excellence on water management. And 5 institutions, IIT Guwahati, IIT Kanpur, IIT Jodhpur, and TIS Mumbai and IIM Bangalore have been selected for professor chair, so that basically knowledge, capacity building, training, research, education in water and sanitation and hygiene goes to next level. What we have also done is basically eminent institutions in this country, numbering roughly 104 institutions, have been partnered who are working as key resource centers, basically training and capacity building, reorientation of people starting from grassroots level at Gram Panchayat level or Pani Samiti level to engineer-in-chief, chief engineer, technical people. So idea is that water should become everybody's business. And this is the motto of the Jal Jeevan Mission: building partnership, working together, and changing lives. You'll be happy to know that when program started, only 3.23 crore households had tap water connection. And today, roughly 8.73 crore rural households are having, more than 46% households are having tap water supply. So this is the scale and this is the speed of this program. And more than 80% schools are having provision of tap water supply. Similarly, Anganwadi Center and Ashram Shala is roughly 79%. And emphasis has been given to aspirational district and Japanese encephalitis, acute encephalitis syndrome districts, where, like in aspirational district, provision of tap water supply was less than 8%, and it has reached to 40%. Similarly, in JES affected districts, water supply was less than 3% tap water supply, and now it is about more than 40%. So this is the speed and scale of the Jal Jeevan Mission through which we are working, and this is being taken forward. Certain priority has also been given, especially drought-prone area, and desert areas, quality affected habitations, and JES affected district and aspirational district to be covered under JJM on priority. So what is the way forward? If we have to protect wetland, you have to manage availability of water to achieve water security with limited resources in the country. And of course, with 1.37 billion population, with expanding economic activities. So first of the most important activities which we are promoting and which we have to take is in every field is first is water use efficiency. Water use efficiency is the most critical aspect, because if this demand keeps on growing and growing and growing, I think it's next to impossible to manage. So whether it's agriculture or it's a domestic or industrial use, water use efficiency has to be the first and foremost priority. Secondarily, we are also promoting, like one example I'll give today. I think this issue has not been discussed in detail. We all know the impact of gray and black water on water bodies that get polluted. But just imagine a situation that in cities like in Delhi, where we are sitting, our fecal matter, few 100-gram fecal matter, 300 to 400-gram fecal matter, just think about it, how it is disposed of. This 300-gram of fecal matter is transported by this fresh water through sewer line to, let's say, 20 kilometer, 30 kilometer to Okhla industrial area or some other area, and there it is treated. Can a country afford? And imagine this technology was developed in 1908, 1910 actually. Since last 100 plus years, disposal of fecal matter is continuing in the same way the way it started, that transport this fecal matter through water to a long distance, treat it, semi-treat it, and release it. So it means, and we have seen in airlines, we have seen in basically now in trains, that human excreta can be collected not by 7, 8, 10 liter of water, but few milliliter of waters. It means there is a scope for technological intervention, that we have to find out a way forward where in urban areas, in multi-story building, I think time has come when human excreta, fecal matter has to be collected by not using few liters of water, but few milliliter of waters. And secondarily, need not to be transported to long distance, but it should be treated in situ, there itself. And once its odor is removed, it is basically contamination is handled, and then put in combustion, produce gas and use in electricity and all those things. And the solid waste, whatever remains, it can be transported, can be disposed of. It means our new societies, our gated communities, our new urban habitat, it has to become basically zero discharge kind of. So this kind of technological intervention is required so that water use efficiency basically comes in the system. Secondarily, please take RO plants. We get tap water supply in our home, but we are not directly using it because we don't have trust and faith on that tap water, that it is potable. What we do, we install one RO plant or UV plant or something, treat it, and whatever water comes out of this, again, we drink it, we use it because we have some faith in this instrument that it is providing clean tap water. But please realize the kind of reject generated by these RO plants. And it basically increases the whole demand of water in domestic sector. So it means if we improve our testing protocols, make our laboratories available for water quality testing, that if common citizen, you and me, can go and get our water tested, I think we will develop faith in tap water supply. We are also seeing that, and a step has been taken, roughly 2020 laboratories in the country have been open to public. They have been upgraded, NABL, and they have been open to public so that you can get your water tested. And we are also asking through BIS to RO manufacturers that they must install a device where input water quality is, as well as output, is indicated, so that people know that whether there is a genuine need for RO plant or not. So this is the second part is being done. Thirdly, public health engineers, we are trying to make them a true public health professional or public health managers, and their training, their capacity building, that step has been taken, and they should develop a kind of holistic approach, posing that there should be a regulator based for water services. To get water, they should be sure about quantity, quality, pricing, service delivery. Future, that this kind of regulator is there to ensure that service is provided, like in electricity or telecom, they should get assured service, quality service at reasonable cost. So that is one step I think we are proposing, and I hope that it will be taken forward and take happen. Similarly, you have seen after doing law, any student cannot directly go and start practicing. It means it has Bar Council of India exam. So take doctors, they have to clear examination certificate. Cost accountant, I think any professional service requires that kind of certification process. So time has come that in a country like us, our public health engineer who are working in water supply sector, whether in the urban or rural, they need to clear some kind of examination. There should be some kind of council, and that council should be conducting examination. They should qualify and giving license to practice as a public health engineer. I think time has come when we have to move in that direction. Lastly, before I stop, I think government has started Atal Bhujal Yojana. And Atal Bhujal Yojana is basically involving local community, gram panchayat, village people, making them to realize the value and importance of water bodies, local water bodies, or groundwater. So Atal Bhujal Yojana is basically building capacity of local communities to protect water bodies and improve groundwater level. Similarly, Jal Shakti Abhiyan is also basically focusing to make water everyone's business. And I must congratulate and compliment Haryana government that in last few years they have taken a number of steps in Haryana to protect water bodies. So this is the way forward, where basically wetlands, where they need to be protected and preserved, and then resources have to be used in such a judicious manner that socioeconomic development and economic growth doesn't stop, but ecosystem and these water bodies are also protected, so that we are able to use it for long term. Thank you very much, and I thank Mr. Vivek Saxena for inviting me and allowing me to share my thoughts. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such valuable inputs by you. And yes, you have rightly said that economic development is essential in order to remove poverty. And yes, we need to conserve and manage water more effectively and efficiently. Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the panel discussion. As you all know that we are joined by some great distinguished panelists. So I would like to request our esteemed panel to share their expert inputs on the following aspects. Number one, we would like to hear from you is that how can we bridge the gap between water and wetlands management? And number two, how can we use wetlands as nature-based solution for water management challenges? So let me take the privilege to invite and introduce our first panelist for the day, Dr. Pema Gyamsho, Director General, International Center for Integrated Mountain Development. Sharing about his credentials, I would like to tell you that he's the Director General who has taken up the role beginning his tenure as part of a major ministerial mountain summit that was held in October. A deeply experienced leader, Dr. Gyamsho's past achievements span areas include linking public financing for environmental sustainability, enactment of legislation focusing on environmental stewardship, conservation, and climate change mitigation, and the list goes on. Dr. Gyamsho is the first Director General of International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, who hails from the region. He brings to the position a deep passion for the people of the HKH and a commitment to help address the challenges across the diversity of regions' mountain environments. Within his vision for the future of the institution, he seeks to build on the institution's strengths and successes in its role as a convener and facilitator for regional cooperation. You are heartily welcome to the virtual platform, sir. You may take over.
Thank you very much, Anjalji. At the onset, I would like to thank Dr. Vivek Saxena, Managing Director of Haryana Forest.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, can you just be a little bit more loud?
Okay, just
yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me thank Dr. Saxena for inviting me to this event and also all the other organizers. Listening to all the video messages from the dignitaries as well as the Honorable Justice, I cannot help but be inspired by the work that India is doing in terms of protecting the wetlands, in terms of protecting the water resources, and so on. So there's so much to learn from India, from your experience, and so much that we can share across the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. Now, as already mentioned by Anjal Ji, I think ISIMO being involved with the Hindu Kush Himalayan region ecosystem management as well as providing or contributing to enhancing the socio-economic security of communities living in the mountains. For us, water is central to our nation. And as you know, the Hindu Kush Himalaya mountain is the source area for 10 of Asia's largest river, including the Ganges, the Indus, the Brahmaputra, and so on. So if we don't take care of the water towers, and if the water towers fail, it is going to disrupt the whole water regime way beyond the mountains. Now, I think when Anchal ji mentioned वहाँ जहाँ पानी होगा वहाँ जीवन होगा. By extension, I would like to say that जहाँ wetlands होगा वहाँ पानी होगा. I think I dare to say if there's no wetland, we are going to be running short of water. And I think the importance of water has been very much emphasized. The importance of wetlands as the kidney of the planet has already been highlighted by several speakers. But sad to see that in many areas, among many communities, wetlands are still treated as wastelands. That is why we heard examples of wetlands being converted into construction sites, wetlands being drained out and convert it for other uses, including for agriculture. And till recently, we have no respect for the areas, the wetlands, the ponds, the marshes, the swamps that actually feed and recharge our springs and streams. More and more hard services are coming up, roads, roads, paved services. And when rainwater, comes, when rainfall takes place, all the water runs into a stone drain and straight into the river. And there's no way of recharging the groundwater. So I think we have to move away from treating wetlands as wasteland to begin with. Now, there have been very good initiatives now being taken in terms of reviving drying springs. I think the spring shed management that ISIMO is working with an agency called Aquadem, Advanced Center for Water Development and Management in Bangalore is an example where we have been successful in reviving some of the drying springs across the Himalayas. I think this can be replicated across many states, also in India. Now, coming to Ramsar Convention, Bhutan only ratified it in 2010, and I'm happy to say that I was involved with, tabling the ratification of Ramsar Convention in Bhutan. We have now 3 important wetland sites registered as Ramsar sites. I think India has ratified it much earlier, if I am not mistaken, in 1982. And you have something like 47 Ramsar sites. So again, India is way ahead in terms of recognizing the importance of Ramsar Convention. Nepal ratified it in I think 1988 only, and it has also quite significant number of wetland sites. So the awareness is increasing. Now we need to get together and take forward what Honorable Justice has shared. We need to come up with appropriate policies. We need to come up with regulatory framework, and we need to come up with citizens' participation, awareness and participation in protecting, conserving, and also in creating, I would say, artificial ponds and artificial wetlands. Otherwise, I think we are going to be running short of water. And today, even if you talk about climate change, it's all about water. It's either too little water or too much water. And I think if you go to the video, I hope that all of us have received the sword of empowerment from Lord Shiva. And with that, we hope that we can fight the 3 devils. With these comments, I will stop here. Thank you very much. Anjalji, over to you.
Thank you, sir, for your brief remarks. And yes, you have so rightly said, jahan wetlands honge, wahan pani hoga. We really like this phrase of yours, and we are going to apply this. Thank you. And yes, water is the most essential factor in our lives. We need to conserve our wetlands at any cost. Thank you for such a great panel discussion from our panelist for the day. Moving on to the next panelist, we have with us Shri Prabhakar Kumar Verma ji, Executive Vice Chairperson, Haryana Pond and Wastewater Management Authority. Sharing about his accomplishments, I would like to share here that Sir joined Central PWD through Central Architectural Service as a Deputy Director Architect and retired as an Additional Director General in 2016 after serving for almost 31 years. Thereafter, he joined Haryana Pond and Wastewater Management Authority as a technical advisor. Presently, he's working as an Executive Vice Chairperson, HPWWMA. During the large span of services at different state capitals all over India in CPWD, he designed various important and landmarks, buildings, memorials at Port Blair, Lucknow, besides other various buildings and campuses. Adding to this, Mr. Prabhakarji restored 18 ponds as model ponds in the 10 districts of Haryana in most economical and technical way. It is important to mention here that geomapping and geotagging of all the 18,744 ponds presently available on PDMS are also being done and will be completed by next month. We are so humbled by your presence, sir. You may take over the virtual platform.
नमस्कार नमस्कार video is not coming.
Sir, your voice is echoing actually.
Can you allow the video?
Yes, yes, of course, sir. Dhruv, can you please allow sir to switch on his video mode? And sir, now you are absolutely clearly audible.
Okay. नमस्कार
Yes.
हरियाणा पॉन्ड अथॉरिटी में जैसा कि परिचय आंचल ने दिया है कि पॉन्ड अथॉरिटी हरियाणा प्रदेश में संभवतः देश का पहला प्रदेश है जहां पर तालाब के मैनेजमेंट के लिए प्राधिकरण का गठन किया गया। मैं अपना कुछ प्रेजेंटेशन के शेयर करना चाहूंगा जिसके माध्यम से मैं उस पर चर्चा करूंगा कि यहाँ पर प्रदेश में आवश्यकता क्यों पड़ी प्राधिकरण गठन करने की और उस उद्देश्य को पूर्ति करने के लिए हमने क्या मेथोडोलॉजी किया और क्या क्या किया और कैसे किया, इस पर मैं शेयर करना चाहूंगा आप सबके सामने। वीडियो शेयर कर पीपीटी। ये शेयर हो रहा है वीडियो प्रेजेंटेशन?
Yes, sir. We can see your video. We can see your presentation. Yes, sir.
थैंक यू। ये हम जैसे कि अपना ये हरियाणा प्रदेश का ये मैप है और इसमें हमारे जैसे हम सभी जानते हैं कि अपने पूरे हरियाणा प्रदेश में 22 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं जिसमें 141 ब्लॉक्स हैं और नियरली 7,600 विलेजेस हैं। तो जो ग्राउंड की जो स्थिति है, वाटर लेवल की जो स्थिति है, जो सेंट्रल ग्राउंड वाटर बोर्ड ने जो दिया है, ये हमारा पास सिचुएशन है अभी हरियाणा प्रदेश की, जिसमें जो हमारा जो रेट हम देख रहे होंगे जिसमें 85 ब्लॉक्स ऐसे हैं जो ओवर एक्सप्लॉइटेड हैं और 12 ऐसे ब्लॉक्स हैं जो येलो कलर में हैं, वो क्रिटिकल ब्लॉक्स आते हैं और सेमी क्रिटिकल जो ब्लू कलर में है वो 14 है। अर्थात यदि इन तीनों को हम यदि मिला लें तो 111 ब्लॉक्स आउट ऑफ 141 ऐसे ब्लॉक्स हैं जो हमारे लिए, हमारे प्रदेश के लिए जो भूजल का जो गिरता हुआ स्तर है वो चिंताजनक स्थिति थी। इन सभी को ध्यान में रखते हुए वर्ष 2018 में अक्टूबर में माननीय मुख्यमंत्री श्रीमान मनोहर लाल जी ने अक्टूबर 2018 में इस विषय पर को ठीक कर सकें, हमारे प्रदेश की भूजल का जो गिरता हुआ स्तर है उसको हम पुनः ठीक कर सकें, इसके लिए उन्होंने तालाब प्राधिकरण का गठन किया। जैसा कि आप देख रहे हैं कि हम पर्यावरण भी इसके माध्यम से पर्यावरण को कैसे बचा पाएंगे और साथ साथ हम गिरते हुए भूजल स्तर को हम कैसे रोक पाएंगे, इसलिए प्राधिकरण का गठन हुआ। नेक्स्ट। हमारे लिए समस्या ये थी गठन के पश्चात कि हमारे इतना बड़ा जो 22 जिले, इतना बड़ा प्रदेश है, उसके पर तालाबों का जो डाटा है पहले उसको हम कलेक्ट करें, कैसे हम अपडेट करें। उसके लिए प्राधिकरण ने पॉन्ड डाटा मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम का उपयोग किया, बनवाया इसको और उसके माध्यम से हमने जो हमारे 22 पैरामीटर्स थे, उस 22 पैरामीटर्स के माध्यम से हमने इस डाटा को कलेक्ट किया है। वो जो 22 पैरामीटर्स मैं शेयर करना चाहूंगा, ये हमारा ये वेबसाइट है, इसके माध्यम से जो हमारा पॉन्ड एटलस है वो पब्लिक डोमेन में अवेलेबल है। सॉरी फॉर इनकन्वीनियंस। ये हमारे पास जो 22 पैरामीटर्स थे जो आप देख रहे होंगे सामने, इसमें डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं, ब्लॉक्स हैं, विलेजेस हैं, नेम ऑफ द पॉन्ड, हर पॉन्ड का एक यूनिक आईडी दिया हुआ है, हम आप यहाँ देख सकते हैं। और उसके बाद में उसका क्या प्रेजेंट कंडीशन है और प्रेजेंट में उसका यूजेज क्या है, क्या उसकी लॉन्गिट्यूड लैटिट्यूड क्या है, इस सारे डाटा जो हम इस पर हम अपलोड कराना शुरू किया। और लगभग सभी हमारे पंचायती राज और इरिगेशन के सारे फील्ड ऑफिसर और स्टाफ ने लगभग 1 साल इसमें लगे और इस इतने हरकुलियन टास्क को हमने पूरा किया है। और आज के वर्तमान डैशबोर्ड, आज हमारा ये रियल टाइम जो डाटा बेस है, ये अभी हम जैसे बता सकते हैं कि टोटल पॉइंट्स आज के दिन में 18,768 है, 18,768 टोटल पॉइंट्स हैं, जिसमें रूरल में 17,909 है और जिसमें हिस्टोरिकल 503 हैं और रिलीजियस भी हमारे 572 हैं। ये सारे जो क्लासिफिकेशंस हैं वो थ्रू जो पैरामीटर्स जो हमने डिसाइड किए थे उसके माध्यम से, इसमें जो हमारे जो अर्बन के जो है 859 है, उसी प्रकार से हमने 0.5 एकड़ से कितने पॉइंट्स हैं, लेस देन 0.5 एकड़ कितने हैं, उसमें भी जो उनके प्रेजेंट कंडीशन के हिसाब से हमने 4 कैटेगराइज किया है। पॉल्यूटेड एंड ओवरफ्लोइंग वो कितने हैं, दैट इज प्रेजेंटली हमारा टोटल 1899 है। पॉल्यूटेड बट नॉट ओवरफ्लोइंग भी 10,066 हैं। क्लीन हमारे हैं 4,958, अर्बन एंड रूरल दोनों मिलाकर, एंड ड्राई पॉन्ड। फर्दर हमने उनको यूजेस के हिसाब से 5 कैटेगरीज में हमने क्लासीफाई किया हुआ है। इसके आधार पर हमने अपना एक्शन प्लान बनाया है।
तो मैंने फिर रख लिया।
I just request someone who is talking in between to please mute yourself. Thank you so much. Please mute yourself. Yes, sir, you may continue.
चलिए नेक्स्ट। ये पब्लिक डोमेन में अवेलेबल है और हमारे वेबसाइट के द्वारा आप कोई भी तो लॉगिन आईडी है, जो ऑफिशियल्स के पास लॉगिन आईडी है, उससे वो सारा पीडीएमएस और एमआईएस सिस्टम को हम देख सकते हैं, मॉनिटर कर सकते हैं और हमारे फील्ड ऑफिसर एंड स्टाफ उसको डाटा अपलोड कर सकते हैं। और ये पब्लिक डोमेन में यदि पॉन्ड एटलस को यदि क्लिक करेंगे तो उसके माध्यम से हम अपने विलेज, अपने ब्लॉक्स या डिस्ट्रिक्ट के कौन कौन से पॉन्ड हैं, जैसे पॉन्ड एटलस को क्लिक करेंगे तो यहाँ पर जो मेनूज हैं उसे कोई भी डिस्ट्रिक्ट हम सेलेक्ट कर सकते हैं, ब्लॉक सेलेक्ट कर सकते हैं और अपना विलेज सेलेक्ट कर सकते हैं। उसके हिसाब से उनके गांव के या ब्लॉक के या डिस्ट्रिक्ट के सारे लिस्टेड पॉन्ड्स जो हमारे पॉन्ड डाटा में हैं वो उनके सामने दिखाई पड़ेगा। और ये जो कलर कोडिंग हमने ऊपर दे रखी है वो उसका एक्शन प्लान में किस स्टेज पे है वो भी उसको समझ में आएगा कि हमारे गांव का ये तालाब किस एक्शन प्लान में क्या उसका स्टेटस है, वो यहाँ से व्यू कर सकता है। इसके आधार पर हम लोगों ने एक्शन प्लान बनाया है और आगे हमने उसकी नेक्स्ट लेकिन इसके जो हमारा कुछ लिमिटेशन थे इसमें भी, क्योंकि फिजिकली गांवों में जाना, 7,600 गांवों में जाना, फिजिकल सर्वे करना, उन सारी 22 पैरामीटर्स को अपलोड करना, इसमें थोड़ा सा फिजिकल लिमिटेशन थी, जिसके कारण से कुछ डाटा में कुछ गलतियां भी थी। इसको और भी हमें ऑथेंटिक करने के लिए हमने सैटेलाइट इमेजिंग से, ये देश का पहला राज्य होगा जो अपने पूरे प्रदेश के सारे तालाबों का सैटेलाइट इमेजिंग भी उसने करके हमने किया है। और हम जो देख रहे हैं कि हमारे जो जोनिंग है, जो वाटर लेवल के हिसाब से आप देख सकते हैं कि 37,353 तालाब हैं वाटर बॉडी, जिसमें प्राइवेट मैनमेड भी है और नेचुरल भी है, जिसकी हमने सैटेलाइट इमेज जियो मैपिंग हमने कर ली है। नेक्स्ट, फर्दर इसमें से हमने 24,500 जो पॉइंट्स हैं जिसकी जियो टैगिंग हमने साइट पर फिजिकली वेरीफाई करके जियो टैगिंग हमने करा ली है। इसमें से अलग अलग कोड हैं जिसके माध्यम से उसमें भी हमने क्लासिफाई किया है अलग अलग कलर कोडिंग से, जिसमें अलग अलग कलर कोडिंग में कि क्लीन कितने हैं, ड्राई कितने होंगे, पॉल्यूटेड एंड ओवरफ्लोइंग कितने होंगे, पॉल्यूटेड बट नॉट ओवरफ्लोइंग कितने हैं। ये डिफरेंट कलर कोडिंग से आपके सामने दिखाई पड़ रहा है। और अलग अलग जो जोन्स हैं उसमें वो किस टाइप के पॉन्ड किस जोन में कैसे हैं वो हम यहाँ से विजुअलाइज कर सकते हैं। और जियो टैगिंग के माध्यम से उसको हम GIS के माध्यम से हम वहां पर हम उसको हम सर्च भी कर सकते हैं इस मैप के द्वारा। जो हमने एक्शन प्लान बनाया, जो फेज 1 में जब हमारा गठन हुआ प्राधिकरण का, तो सबसे पहले माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी का प्राथमिकता थी कि अपने प्रदेश में ये कुछ मॉडल पॉन्ड बने जिसके आधार पर हम आगे हम उसका हम काम कर सकें। ऐसे हमने 18 तालाब को हमने उसमें 10 जिले के 17 गांव के लगभग 19 तालाब को हम उन्होंने पहले एक्शन प्लान में लिया था, जिसमें से 9 आज के दिन में रिस्टोर्ड हो गए हैं। हम ये जियो मैपिंग के माध्यम से हम यदि चाहें तो उसको हम देख सकते हैं आज भी। जैसे ये हमारा जियो टैगिंग है, इस मैप के माध्यम से हमने किया है। जो 18 मॉडल पॉन्ड, जैसे एक अम्बाला डिस्ट्रिक्ट के साहा ब्लॉक में टेपला गांव है, जहां पर हम देख सकते हैं कि ये जो हमारा जो वेस्ट वाटर है, गाँव के जो वेस्ट वाटर ग्रे वाटर आते हैं, उसको कैसे हमने ट्रीट किया है और ट्रीट करके वेटलैंड टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से हमने तालाब में हम यूज कर रहे हैं। इस तरह से हमने इसको तालाब को जो हमने रिस्टोर किया है वो इसको हम जियो टैगिंग के माध्यम से हम विजुलाइज भी कर सकते हैं। ये जो हमने नई टेक्नोलॉजी हमने, ये हमारा क्योरक का है जिसको हमने जियो टैगिंग किया हुआ है। ये हमारा जो कोटि कोटेश्वर तीर्थ का एक कुंड भी है, नीचे का एक कुंड भी है जिसको रिस्टोर हमारे PWD BNR ने किया है। और बाकी का काम हमारे पंचायती राज ने एक 34 एकड़ का तालाब है जिसको हमने रिस्टोर कर लिया है। नेक्स्ट। और अभी जो हमारा जो फेज 2 और फेज 3 है, इसमें टोटल 1802 विलेजेस हम लोगों ने अडॉप्ट किया है। इसमें अभी जो ग्रे वाटर मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम जो हमारे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का बहुत बड़ा एक स्कीम है कि एक गांव के सभी पॉल्यूटेड पॉन्ड्स को हमें ठीक करना है, जिससे कि उनकी नालियां भी ठीक हो जाएं। जो ग्रे वाटर आए वो पॉन्ड तक आके उस ग्रे वाटर को भी हम ट्रीट करें और उस गांव के जितने भी पॉल्यूटेड पॉन्ड्स हैं तो सभी पॉल्यूटेड पॉन्ड्स को हम एड्रेस करें। ये आज के दिन में माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के द्वारा दिया गया जो टास्क है प्राधिकरण, उसके हिसाब से 1802 विलेजेस के 4544 जो हमने तालाबों को हमने दिया है। जो हमारा फेज 2 में नेक्स्ट, जिसमें हमारा जो फर्स्ट फेज में हमारे ऑलरेडी 80 पॉन्ड्स हैं जिस पर हमने डी वाटरिंग का काम शुरू हो चुका है। अनदर 105 पॉन्ड्स हैं जो मार्च 31 तक उस पर काम शुरू हो जाएंगे। अर्थात मार्च 31 तक फेज 2 में हमारे जो 1900 हमारे पॉन्ड्स थे, जिसमें 185 पॉन्ड्स पे मार्च 31 तक डी वाटरिंग एंड डी सिल्टिंग का काम प्रारंभ हो जाएगा। अगला जो हमारा 22-23 में बाकी तालाबों के ऊपर हम काम करेंगे। ये हमारा टोटल है कि आज के दिन में जो हमारा टोटल फिगर है, जो विलेजेज हम ले रहे हैं फेज 1 CM अनाउंसमेंट, फेज 2 एंड फेज 3, टोटल जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स है में जो विलेजेज आ रहे हैं 1823 विलेजेस को हमने टारगेट किया है, जिसमें लेस देन 5000 जो हमारे पॉपुलेशन के जो गांव है वो 1291 हैं। और बिटवीन 5000 और 10,000 के जो आबादी वाले पॉपुलेशन के जो गांव हैं वो 415 है। मोर देन 10,000 के जो पॉपुलेशन के विलेज हैं वो 113 है। ऐसे हमने टोटल पॉन्ड 4521 इतने तालाबों को हमने फेज 1 CM अनाउंसमेंट, फेज 2, फेज 3 के माध्यम से ठीक करने का हमने टारगेट 22-23 तक हमने कर लेंगे, ऐसा हम लोगों ने टारगेट प्लान किया है। जिसमें से 10 हमारे कंप्लीट हो गए हैं, इन प्रोग्रेस में 94 हैं आज के डेट में, और इन प्रोग्रेस में जो प्लानिंग जो है वो 106 हो जाएंगे। और टोटल जो हमारे डिजाइन जो हमारी जो हम यहाँ ये कहना चाहेंगे कि तालाबों का जो रिस्टोरेशन करते हैं उसके पहले हम उसका डिजिटल सर्वे करवाते हैं टोटल स्टेशन के माध्यम से, जिससे कि उस पॉन्ड की एग्जिस्टिंग रेवेन्यू बाउंड्री हमें पता चले आज के दिन में उसका एक्चुअल बाउंड्री क्या है, जिससे हम ये डिटरमाइन करते हैं कि उसमें इंक्रोचमेंट कितने हो गए, किनका प्राइवेट है या गवर्नमेंट का इंक्रोचमेंट है, किस टाइप के परमानेंट इंक्रोचमेंट है या वो टेम्पोररी इंक्रोचमेंट है। उसके आधार पर संबंधित डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट को हम उनको चिट्ठी भेजते हैं कि इस इंक्रोचमेंट को जो इतना एकड़ का है उसको तुरंत खाली कराएं, और बचा हुआ जो हमारे पास जो ये हम सर्वे हम देख रहे हैं आपके सामने स्क्रीन पे है, डिजिटल सर्वे हम एग्जिस्टिंग साइट्स पे जो भी स्टेटस है, कैचमेंट एरिया क्या है कि पानी का एक भी बूंद बाहर बर्बाद ना हो, और उस पानी को चैनलाइज करके हम तालाबों में उपयोग कर सके, चाहे वो रेन वाटर हो या वो ग्रे वाटर हो। इन सभी का हमने प्रॉपरली डिजाइन बनाकर एज पर द कंट्रोल लाइन हम डिजिटल सर्वे कराते हैं। उसके आधार पर हम ये ड्राइंग हम आर्किटेक्चर वर्किंग ड्राइंग्स बनवाते हैं। सेक्शन ये हमारा एक टिपिकल सेक्शन है कि हम जनरल 8 फीट हम वाटर का डेप्थ रखते हैं, 2 फीट हम फ्री बोर्ड रखते हैं कि ड्यूरिंग द मानसून सीजन हमारा पानी ओवरफ्लो ना हो सके इस इधर से। और ऑल अराउंड द पॉन्ड पहले हम बफर एरिया, ग्रीन बफर एरिया पहले क्रिएट करते हैं ऑल अराउंड द पॉन्ड। उसके बाद हम फुटपाथ बनाते हैं, वॉकिंग ट्रेल यदि जगह हो तो। इस आधार के पर हम सारे तालाबों का रिस्टोरेशन का काम इस कॉन्सेप्ट पर हम करना शुरू कर दिया है और उसका बहुत अच्छा रिजल्ट आया है। नेक्स्ट, इस प्रकार से आप नेक्स्ट इसी बात, इस प्रकार हम देख सकते हैं कि जो हमने पहले जो चार्ट दिखाया था हरियाणा प्रदेश का, जिसमें ओवर एक्सप्लॉइटेड में 85 ब्लॉक्स हैं, इस 85 ब्लॉक्स के जो 2461 पॉन्ड्स को हम रिस्टोर कर रहे हैं, वाटर बॉडीज को रिस्टोर कर रहे हैं। और 12 जो हमारे क्रिटिकल ब्लॉक्स हैं उसके 307 पॉन्ड्स को, वाटर बॉडीज को हम रिस्टोर कर रहे हैं। सेमी क्रिटिकल में 13 ब्लॉक्स हैं जिसके 574 को हम रिस्टोर कर रहे हैं। इस तरह से जो मेजर जो क्रिटिकल एरियाज हैं हमारे हरियाणा प्रदेश के, उसके हम लगभग 3500 के लगभग हम पॉन्ड्स को रिस्टोर कर रहे हैं, जिसके माध्यम से हम ग्राउंड वाटर को रिचार्ज भी करेंगे जो बाय डिफॉल्ट होता है। उसके कारण से भी जो पानी का जो गिरता हुआ स्तर है उसको रोकने में हम समर्थ हो पाएंगे। हमारे SWRA जो हमारे अथॉरिटी बनी है, वाटर रिसोर्स अथॉरिटी, उसके साथ में हम मिलकर इसको काम को अंजाम देने की, उनको सहयोग करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। नेक्स्ट, जो इसका जो पैरामीटर्स हैं कि क्या क्या हम करते हैं, उसके मिनिमम हमारे पैरामीटर्स क्या होने चाहिए रिस्टोरेशन के, तो देयर मस्ट बी रेगुलेटेड इनलेट एंड आउटलेट ऑफ द पॉन्ड। यदि पानी हम रेगुलेट नहीं करेंगे तो पानी फिर वो गंदा हो जाता है, सड़ने लगता है। उसके बाद जो ओवरफ्लोइंग पॉन्ड्स हैं तो उसको हम एड्रेस करते हैं बाय डीपनिंग द पॉन्ड, बाय इंक्रीजिंग द साइज ऑफ द पॉन्ड। उससे हम ओवरफ्लोइंग जो इश्यूज हैं उसको हम एड्रेस करते हैं। तो जो मिनिमम, जो जैसा कि मैंने कहा कि मिनिमम डेप्थ ऑफ द वाटर है 8 फीट हम मेंटेन करते हैं, और 2 फीट हम उसको हम फ्री बोर्ड हम मेंटेन करते हैं। ग्रीन बेल्ट हम चारों तरफ से हम मेंटेन करते हैं, जिससे नेटिव ट्रीज हम लगाते हैं। इसमें हमें फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट का बहुत ज्यादा सहयोग मिल रहा है, और उनसे मेरा आगे आग्रह भी है कि हमें फ्रूटी ट्रीज हम उनसे आग्रह करते हैं कि ऑल अराउंड जो हमारा ग्रीन बेल्ट है वो नेटिव एंड फ्रूटी ट्रीज हमें उपलब्ध कराएं, जिसके कारण से जो बर्ड्स हैं, जो फल जो के आधार पर जो जीवित रहते हैं, खाने के आधार पे, ऐसे जो फल भक्षी जो पक्षियां हैं वो नेस्टिंग कर सकें, जो धीरे धीरे बड़ा ही एक्सटिंक्ट होते जा रहे हैं ऐसे बर्ड्स, उसको भी हम सिस्टम को हम एलाइव कर सके। इसके लिए हम ग्रीन बेल्ट पर हम ज्यादा जोर देते हैं कि पर्यावरण भी हमारा ठीक हो, पानी का ग्राउंड वाटर को भी हम रिचार्ज कर सकें। और हमारा एक्वेटिक है, इसमें हम आगे हम फोटो विजुअल से दिखाएंगे कि हमने इसमें रिटेनिंग वॉल और स्टोन पिचिंग बिल्कुल ही हमने बंद किया हुआ है, जिससे कि एक्वेटिक जो लाइफ है उसको हम मेंटेन कर सकें बायोडाइवर्सिटी को हम मेंटेन कर सकें। और जो कैटल्स हैं, जो गाँव का एक जो लाइफ लाइन है, उनके लिए भी हम इसमें केयर करते हैं कि उन पॉन्ड्स में जाने के लिए उसको कैटल घाट बनाना, इसकी भी व्यवस्था हम करते हैं। ये हमारा जो है कि जो प्रायोरिटी है, हम कैसे हम क्या करते हैं, स्टेजेस हैं कि किस इन ऑर्डर ऑफ हम काम करके हम काम को अंजाम देते हैं। ये हम इस तरह का जो स्टेजेस है उसको मेंटेन करते हैं। और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि हम जो ग्रे वाटर है इसको हम वेस्ट नहीं होने देते। इस वेस्ट वाटर को भी हम ट्रीट करते हैं और जो तालाब के में हम उसका उपयोग कर सकते हैं, जिससे कि हम कनाल के ऊपर हम कम से कम डिपेंड हो सके। इसके माध्यम से हमारे पास बहुत सारे मार्केट्स में टेक्नोलॉजीज हैं जो वेस्ट वाटर को ट्रीट करते हैं, लेकिन आफ्टर नंबर ऑफ जो टेक्नोलॉजीज को स्टडी करने के बाद हमारे टेक्निकल कमेटी में एक इमिनेंट प्रोफेसर हैं, प्रोफेसर CR बाबू, जो प्रोवीसी भी रहे हैं दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के, वो हमारे इमिनेंट टेक्निकल कमेटी के मेंबर हैं। उनके से साथ में टेक्निकल कमेटी के साथ में केस स्टडी के बाद में हम लोगों ने जो कंस्ट्रक्टेड वेटलैंड टेक्नोलॉजी है उसको हमने अडॉप्ट किया है, क्योंकि ये मोस्ट इकोनॉमिकल है, नेचुरल है, जीरो एनर्जी है, लिस्ट मेंटेनेंस है और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है कि सस्टेनेबल है। इसलिए हमने इस टेक्नोलॉजी को हम पूरे हरियाणा में जितने भी हमारे पोल्यूटेड वेस्ट वाटर हैं, पॉन्ड हैं, उसको हम इस माध्यम से हम इसको ट्रीट करना शुरू किया है। नेक्स्ट, ये वेटलैंड टेक्नोलॉजी का एक है कि ऑक्सीडेशन पॉन्ड, फिर फिल्ट्रेशन बेड, एंड आफ्टर दैट जो फिल्ट्रेशन हमारा बेड होता है उसमें डिफरेंट साइजेस के कट स्टोन हम बोल्डर्स यूज करते हैं। अब बाई ग्रेविटी वो फ्लो करता है। वो नीला हाउस में इसका बहुत सक्सेसफुल उसका एग्जाम्पल है जो आपके सामने स्क्रीन पे है। इसी के आधार पर स्टडी करके हम लोगों ने सारी जगह सारे जितने भी वेस्ट वाटर हम ट्रीट कर रहे हैं इसी टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से हम ट्रीट कर रहे हैं। और इसी का नीला हाउस का आपके सामने जो आफ्टर रिस्टोर्ड इसी वेटलैंड टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से जो लेक जो रिस्टोर्ड हुआ है उसकी एक कंडीशन आज के आपके सामने है। इसी को फॉलो हम लोग भी अपने हरियाणा में करना शुरू किया है। नेक्स्ट, और जो हमारा जो जैसा कि बताया जो ग्रीन बफर एरिया में हम जो यूज करते हैं, तो हम स्लोप में डिफरेंट टाइप के श्रब्स, हर्ब्स और ट्रीज हम यूज करना शुरू किया है, जिससे कि हम टोटल इन्वायरमेंट को भी हम प्रोटेक्ट कर सकें और बर्ड्स को भी हम नेस्टिंग के लिए इनवाइट कर सकें। इसमें डिफरेंट टाइप के प्लांट्स हैं। यहाँ बताना बहुत जरूरी है कि इस जो हमारा जो एक्वेटिक प्लांट्स हैं, पहले चूंकि पूरे प्रदेश में हमें ढूंढने में बड़ी समस्या होती थी कि कहाँ पर ये हमारे जैसे टाइफा है, फ्रैगमाइटाइसिस है, इस सब को हमें कहाँ मिल पाए। तो हमने फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट के जो PCCF है उनको मैं थैंक्स देना चाहूँगा पॉन्ड अथॉरिटी के माध्यम से कि उन्होंने हमारे लिए एक यमुनानगर में अपने नर्सरी में, फॉरेस्ट की नर्सरी में एक्वेटिक प्लांट्स के भी नर्सरी उन्होंने ग्रो किया है। और मेरा उनसे आग्रह है आज से इस मंच के माध्यम से कि हमारे जो 22 जो अनदर जो 21 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं, 21 जिले हैं, उस सबको यहाँ आके यमुनानगर में आके लेना उनके लिए थोड़ा दिक्कत होती है। तो हर बाकी जो जिलों में भी इस प्लांट्स को हम वहाँ ग्रो नर्सरी में हम ग्रो करा के उपलब्ध करा दें, उसके लिए हम बहुत प्राधिकरण उनके लिए बहुत थैंकफुल रहेगा, जिससे कि हम इजिली हम उसको हम यूज कर पाएंगे। नेक्स्ट, ये हमारे जैसे CR बाबू जैसे हम लोग ने साइट विजिट पर करके उनका हम जैसे ड्राई बोल्डर यदि जहाँ आवश्यकता पड़ती है पब्लिक डिमांड के हिसाब से हम ड्राई बोल्डर यूज करते हैं, जिससे कि एक्वेटिक प्लांट्स को अर्थ से कांटेक्ट बना रहे, जिनकी उनकी ब्रीडिंग और ग्रोथ बना होता रहे, क्योंकि जहाँ आवश्यकता नहीं होती है वहां पर हम बोल्डर यूज नहीं करते। और वेटलैंड टेक्नोलॉजी का भी हम उपयोग कर रहे हैं। CR बाबू के पौधा का है जो राइट हैंड साइड में आपके सामने है, वो कैसे हम वेटलैंड बनाएंगे, प्रोफेसर CR बाबू के निर्देशन में ही हम लोग इस सब काम को कर रहे हैं। नेक्स्ट, इसमें ये भी बताना आवश्यक है कि अपने प्रदेश में ऐसे बहुत सारे तालाब हैं जहां पर पहले कुएं भी बहुत हुआ करते थे। वाटर रिचार्ज करने के लिए, फ्रेश वाटर को लेने के लिए पहले कुएं का ही हम प्रयोग करते थे। आज वो मैंने डिफंक्ट हो चुका है, जीर्णावस्था में है, जो अब हम देख पा रहे हैं। इनको भी हम कंजर्व करना शुरू किया है, जिससे कि हम कम से कम जो कैचमेंट है उसको हम इस कुएं को उपयोग करेंगे हम रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग के लिए। इन सभी कुओं को हम जब हम अपना जो तालाब को जब हम रिस्टोर करते हैं तो हम इन कुओं को भी हम कंजर्व करना शुरू किया है, जिससे कि हम वाटर रिचार्ज इनके माध्यम से हम इसको प्रारंभ कर सकें। इन जो टेक्नोलॉजी है जो हमने आपसे शेयर किया है, इस माध्यम से जो हमने कुछ तालाब जो हमने ऑलरेडी रिस्टोर किया है, उसकी पहले की कंडीशन क्या थी और आज की कंडीशन क्या है, दोनों में आफ्टर रिस्टोरेशन आप एक सी चेंज देख पाएंगे। ये टिपला का है जो मैंने कहा अंबाला डिस्ट्रिक्ट में है। ये धनौरी है जींद में, ये पहले की कंडीशन है और ये हमने जो आफ्टर रिस्टोरेशन का कंडीशन है। आप यहाँ देखेंगे राइट हैंड साइड में हमने जो स्लोप जो बनाया है अर्थ एंड कॉम्पैक्ट स्लोप 1:5 का है। हम सभी तालाबों में कॉम्पैक्ट अर्थ एंड स्लोप हम मेंटेन करते हैं 1:3 या 1:5, जिसके कारण से हमारा जो है कि बोल्डर की कोई यूज नहीं होती, हम सॉइल को हम कंटेन कर पाते हैं, इरोजन से बचा पाते हैं और बाकी हमारे जो बफर एरिया में जो श्रब्स हर्ब्स हैं और ट्रीज हैं वो उनको कंटेन करते हैं। इस टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से ही हमने सारे तालाबों को रिस्टोर करने का काम किया है। नेक्स्ट, ये हमारा पाधा का है, करनाल डिस्ट्रिक्ट में है और पहले का जो ये लो एरिया था और इसके कारण से वाटर फ्लड के समय में मॉनसून सीजन में वाटर यहाँ पर रिटेंड नहीं हो पाता था और सारे गांव में घरों में फ्लडेड घर हो जाते थे, गांव में पानी फ्लड हो जाता था। लेकिन जब हमने इसका रिस्टोर किया पॉन्ड को, तो इसके बाद से एक बूंद भी पानी गांवों में जाना बंद हो गया और ये इमीडिएटली रिचार्ज करता है ग्राउंड को। इसके कारण से भी हमें बहुत ही ग्राउंड वाटर को रिचार्ज करने का मौका मिला है और जितने भी जो बारिश के समय में पानी जो बर्बाद हो जाता था, घरों में प्रवेश करते थे, उसको हम रोकने में कामयाब हुए हैं। नेक्स्ट, ये वही दूसरा एग्जाम्पल है, करनाल डिस्ट्रिक्ट में ही ये सग्गा पॉन्ड है और यहाँ के पहले की स्थिति अब लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में आप देख सकेंगे और राइट हैंड साइड में ये हमारा जो रिस्टोर्ड पॉन्ड है, यहाँ भी हमारा रिचार्जिंग कैपेसिटी बढ़ी है आफ्टर रिस्टोरेशन। यहाँ पे आप देखेंगे सेम टेक्नोलॉजी हमने अर्थ एंड कॉम्पैक्ट स्लोप है, बफर एरिया है और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंटली जो हमारे जो वॉकिंग ट्रेल हैं उसने भी वहाँ के ग्रामीणों के लाइफ स्टाइल को बदला है। वो सुबह शाम इसको में परिवार के लोग, गांव के लोग इसको यूज वॉकिंग ट्रेल को यूज करते हैं सुबह शाम सैर करने में। ये भी उनके लाइफ स्टाइल में रिस्टोरेशन ऑफ द पॉन्ड्स बहुत बड़ी भूमिका निभा रहा है। नेक्स्ट, ये हमारा कैथल में क्योरक है, जो इसकी जो एरिया है 34 एकड़ की, जो पहले का कंडीशन और बाद का कंडीशन। ये हमारा कुंड है सरोवर कोटि कोटेश्वर तीर्थ, इसी पॉन्ड का एक हिस्सा हम लोगों ने कुंड के लिए भी दिया है। ये हमारा झज्जर का है पहले का और झपोरा है वहां का है। ये हमारा औरंगाबाद है पलवल डिस्ट्रिक्ट में होडाल ब्लॉक में, जहां पर अभी रिस्टोरेशन का काम चल रहा है। 80% काम हो चुका है, 20% का कुछ काम अभी रह गया है, बारिश के कारण थोड़ा सा काम बाकी रह गया है। एक सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जो सक्सेस स्टोरी है जो हम लोगों ने वेटलैंड टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से के माध्यम से जो हमने जो सक्सेस किया है, अलग अलग पॉन्ड्स में जो पहले का BOD 140 था और COD 452 और हमने जब शुरू में ही जो हमने एक्वेटिक प्लांट्स लगाए जो बड़ा ही थिनली प्लांटेड था, उसके बावजूद भी हमने BOD को 60% डाउन किया है। और इसी प्रकार बाकी जगहों पे अभी आप देखेंगे कहीं पर 60%, कहीं पर 84%, कहीं पर 74%, कहीं पर 58%, ऐसा हम सक्सेस हुए हैं BOD को डाउन करने में। जबकि ये बहुत इनिशियल रिपोर्टिंग थी वाटर टेस्टिंग, जबकि वेटलैंड बहुत ही ज्यादा ग्रो नहीं था, उसका उस समय का रिपोर्ट है। और बाकी जो हमने कैपेसिटी जो इनहेंस किया कि प्रेजेंट में उसका एरिया क्या था और आफ्टर रिस्टोरेशन हमने कितना कैपेसिटी उनका इंक्रीज किया है, वो हमारे पास डाटा है। कहीं पर हम लोगों ने जो इंक्रीज किया है कैपेसिटी, उसकी रिस्टोरेशन कैपेसिटी 60%, 100%, इस तरह से हम लोगों ने उसका वॉल्यूम भी बढ़ाया, प्लस हमने उसका बीओडी सीओडी भी हमने रिड्यूस करने में कामयाब हुए हैं इस टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से। यहाँ एक बताना आवश्यक है कि यहाँ पर हरियाणा प्रदेश में बहुत सारे वेस्ट ड्रेनेज भी हैं, इंडस्ट्रियल वेस्ट के भी ड्रेनेज हैं। ऐसा ही सिचुएशन हमने कासांडी एक गांव है, जो पॉन्ड नंबर 2 और पॉन्ड नंबर 1 जो पीछे पार्ट 2 के नीचे लिखा हुआ है, ये दोनों तालाब हमारे 18 पॉन्ड के अंदर में हमने रिस्टोर किया है। लेकिन पीछे से एक ड्रेन आ रही है, ट्रिब्यूटरी ड्रेन नंबर 4। पहले योजना ये थी कि इन पॉन्ड 2 को और पॉन्ड 1 को जो कासांडा और कासांडी विलेज में है, तो इसको हम कैनाल से पानी हम कनेक्ट पाइप लाकर इन दोनों तालाबों को हमने इसको फिल करेंगे। लेकिन जब हम प्रोफेसर सीआर बाबू के साथ में हम लोगों ने जब साइट विजिट किया, तब ये ध्यान में आया कि इस ट्रिब्यूटरी ड्रेन नंबर 4 को ही हम क्यों ना ट्रीट करें वेटलैंड टेक्नोलॉजी से। ये जो ड्रेन जो आगे के भी पॉन्ड्स को और आगे के भी सारे एरिया को पॉल्यूट करता है, इस पानी को हम ट्रीट करें, इस ड्रेनेज को, और इसका उपयोग हम दोनों तालाबों में भी करें, और आगे जाता हुआ जो पॉन्ड नंबर 3 को भी पॉल्यूट करता है, उसमें भी हमें ट्रीटेड वाटर मिलेंगे, और इसका आगे हम सिंचाई में भी हम उपयोग कर पाएंगे। इसी के माध्यम से हमने इसमें टेक्नोलॉजी हमने यूज किया है कि 2 पार्ट में हम वेटलैंड हम इसमें यूज करेंगे, और इसी ट्रीटेड वाटर को ही हम इस पर करेंगे। तो माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी, जो हमारे प्राधिकरण के माननीय अध्यक्ष भी हैं, उनकी अनुमति से ये एज ए पायलट प्रोजेक्ट हमने इसको प्रारंभ कर दिया है। काम प्रारंभ हो गया है साइट पे, और जल्द ही ये हमारे लिए जून तक रेडी हो जाएगा। और हम देखेंगे यदि सक्सेस ये हो जाता है हमारा ये टेक्नोलॉजी और ये प्रोजेक्ट, तो हरियाणा के बाकी जो भी पॉल्यूटेड ड्रेन हैं उस पर भी हम प्रयोग करके उन ड्रेन्स के डर्टी वाटर्स को हम अपने अलग सिंचाई के लिए या तालाबों को भरने के काम में हम ला पाएंगे। ये हमारा जो है सो वेटलैंड है, जो ट्रिब्यूटरी ड्रेन नंबर 4, जिसको हम अभी ठीक करने की योजना काम शुरू हो गया है, और आगे हम जल्दी इसको हम पूर्ण कर पाएंगे। नेक्स्ट। सबसे आवश्यक है कि ये जो सरकार का जो इतना भगीरथ प्रयास है कि सभी तालाब 18,000 से ज्यादा हमारे पास तालाब हैं, और यदि सैटेलाइट इमेजिंग करेंगे तो 24,500 तालाब हैं। इतना ह्यूज नंबर ऑफ पॉन्ड्स को रिस्टोर करने का काम तो हम कर रही है सरकार, हम सबके बने सरकार खर्च कर रही है, लेकिन इसको मेंटेन करने के लिए जन भागीदारी भी बहुत आवश्यक है। जब तक वहाँ के लोकल जो गांव के लोग हैं उनको ओन नहीं करेंगे कि हमारा तालाब है, हमारी विरासत है, इसको हमको ठीक बनाए रखना है, तब तक हम इसको कुछ महीनों के बाद और साल के बाद में पुनः वही स्थिति प्राप्त हो जाएगी। इसके लिए प्राधिकरण गांवों में जाकर वहाँ के सरपंच, वहाँ के लोगों के साथ में बैठ के चर्चा करके उसके बारे में उनको प्रेरित करने का भी काम कर रही है। और अभी जो हाल में अपना जिसके लिए हम आज वेबिनार में हम जुड़े भी हुए हैं, 2 तारीख को जो वेटलैंड डे हमने मनाया था, उसमें हमें भी इनवाइट किया गया था पॉन्ड अथॉरिटी को। हमने जो पॉन्ड का जो पाथा का जो पॉन्ड हमने जिसमें चर्चा किया, हमने उसका मॉडल भी वहाँ लाए थे, लेकिन कुछ अव्यवस्था के कारण अपने जो डिग्नेटरीज थे, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में सतत मार्गदर्शन में जो हम काम हरियाणा में कर रहे हैं, हम अपने डिग्नेटरीज को हम दिखा नहीं पाए। हम सबों को इसके लिए बहुत क्षोभ है कि हम इस अपने जो काम का है जो योगदान हम दे पा रहे हैं वाटर रिस्टोरेशन में और वाटर रिचार्ज में, हम जो हमारे केंद्रीय मंत्री और राज्य मंत्री ऐसे डिग्नेटरीज आए थे, उनके साथ हम शेयर नहीं कर पाए, इसका हमें अफसोस है। धन्यवाद, नमस्कार। ये हमारा मंत्र है, ध्येय वाक्य है अपसु अंत अमृतम, अर्थात जल में अमृत है। इस ध्येय वाक्य को लेकर ही प्राधिकरण पूरे प्रदेश में एक काम कर रहा है और लक्ष्य को प्राप्त करने के प्रयास कर रहा है। नमस्कार।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, आपने बहुत ही खूबसूरत व संक्षिप्त वर्णन करके हमारा वेटलैंड्स के बारे में मार्गदर्शन किया है। आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। एंड नाउ लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, द वेट इज ओवर. We have with us, it really gives me an immense pleasure to invite now someone special today. Time to hear from Mr. Ricky KG, Grammy Award winner, US Billboard #1 artist, UNESCO MGIEP ambassador, UNCCD Land Ambassador, GQ Hero 2020, and UNICEF Celebrity Supporter. Mr. Ricky KG is an internationally renowned Indian music composer, environmentalist, and professor. Mr. Ricky G has dedicated his life and music to creating awareness on the environment and positive social impact. He has performed at prestigious venues in over 30 countries. Mr. Ricky KG has composed and produced his album Shanti Samsara, which was launched by our Honorable Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and French President Francois Hollande. For Shanti Samsara, Mr. Ricky ji collaborated with over 500 musicians from over 40 countries, all coming together for environmental consciousness. His past repertoire of work includes 21 studio albums released internationally, over 3,500 commercials, and 4 feature films, including the natural history documentary Wild Karnataka. During his musical career, Mr. Ricky KG has associated and collaborated with artists such as Lady Smith, Peter Gabriel, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, Shankar Mahadevan, and many, many more. Mr. Ricky G has been awarded the United Nations Global Humanitarian Artist Award. Also, he has been conferred with the title Youth Icon of India. Real Leaders, a signatory to the United Nations, has recently named Mr. Ricky KG as one of the 100 real leaders who inspire the future. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you for your presence at today's webinar, sir. You may take over.
Thank you so much, Anchal. Thank you so much, Vivek, for that very detailed description of my work and introduction. We're very grateful to you for being a part of this event and to celebrate our wetlands. And so I'm just going to go right into a song which we have a song performance that we created specifically for this event. So when we speak about the word the phrase, the Sanskrit phrase Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which everybody knows that it means, that the world is one family, means coexistence, which literally means the world is one family and coexistence. The only thing that comes to our mind is living in peace and harmony among Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, Jews, Buddhists, Jains, basically different parts of the human race. Because somewhere along our journey of being humans, at the bottom line of all of these problems, somewhere along our journey of being humans, we have forgotten that we're not the only species on this planet. We're just one among millions and millions of species on this planet, and any ancient culture, and not just our own, our Indian culture, any ancient culture anywhere in the world has always said that coexistence is living in absolute peace and absolute harmony with all life. And not just that, they widen the net a little bit. It's also living in harmony and peace with the elements of nature, that is the water we drink, the land we walk on, the air we breathe. So that is what this song, which I'm going to present to you, is all about. It's called Sansar. So joining me for the song, we have Siddhartha Bellamanu on vocals from Bangalore. We have Manoj George on violin. We have Vari Jashri on flute. And we have superstar singer Jonita Gandhi on vocals. So here is the song Sansar. It's based on Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So I'm just going to share my screen over here.
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
जहाँ तक जाए नज़र फलक से भी ऊपर है जिंदगी देखी बस धरती पर हर दिल जो है धड़का ये उसका घर। कब समझेंगे कि जिंदगी की जो छाँव है उसमें ही है बसा अपना जो गाँव है। कहानियों वाली जन्नत है यही, है तेरी और मेरी ये साझी ज़मीं।
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
सदियों से सांसों की डोर कुदरत ने है बांधी हुई। रस्तों में मुश्किल हजार जिंदगी ने है फांदी हुई।
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्
कब समझेंगे कि जिंदगी की जो छाँव है उसमें भी है बसा अपना जो गाँव है। कहानियों वाली जन्नत है यही, है तेरी और मेरी ये साझी ज़मीं। कहानियों वाली जन्नत है यही, है तेरी और मेरी ये साझी ज़मीं।
Thank you, Ricky. Really great.
Thank you so much, and hope you enjoyed that song. And I've been listening to in the sessions prior to mine, and I think some wonderful work is being done. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you so much for having me as a part of this really, really important virtual event.
Thank you, Ricky. Ricky, really grateful on behalf of Government of Haryana, Ministry Environment, Forest, and all the organizers to have your support, sir.
Thank you so much. Very, very kind of you.
Yeah. Achal, please carry on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so very much, Samsar. A complete mesmerizing video which showcases the rich biodiversity, I must say. Once again, we would like to thank our guest of honor, Mr. Ricky KG, for joining us for the webinar. Thank you very much, sir. All right, so moving on to our panel discussion. We are not over yet, ladies and gentlemen. So our next panelist for the day is Mr. Ravi Singh Ji, Secretary General and CEO, World Wildlife Fund, India. Mr. Ravi Singh Ji is the Secretary General and Chief Executive Officer of World Wide Fund for Nature, that is WWF India. Prior to his present responsibility, he worked with 2 international banks before moving to pursue the large cause of conservation. His abiding interest in the conservation of nature led to his association with several conservation organizations like WWF and Bombay Natural History Society. As head of WWF India, he contributes to conserve biodiversity, promote sustainability, and provide leadership to the organization while working on the key facets of nature conservation. A keen sportsman, a trekker, a traveler, historian, and a reader, his varied interests and hobbies are linked with his core interest in nature and conservation. We are humbled by your gracious presence, sir. You may take over. Thank you.
Achal, thank you very much for the introduction. Vivek Saxena ji, thank you for inviting me on this panel. And Ritesh Kumar, thank you for sending me the topics and for coordinating this. May I request Saxena Saab, if you could tell me how much time do we have? I think we are running behind time. So I'll keep my points according to the time available.
Yeah, I think because it has generated so much interest, I think 10 minutes can be fine because keeping people, though
Okay.
webinar has
I'll
been
try.
quite
I'll try and
successful.
finish before 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, firstly, thank you very much. Great messages, Ricky. Thank you for being here. I know that Ricky Tej has done several messages for environment, also for conservation, and has done some work for us during the pandemic in those gloomy days of the lockdown and the curfews. Thank you very much, Ricky. Joe, topic that is in front of us is basically water, wetland management, the disconnect between one and the other, and this huge topic that is in front of us. So I'll be brief. We'll start with certain things which are actually aspects of inspiration, and that is when we think of water and wetlands, think of the high altitude wetlands of Arunachal, of Ladakh, of Uttarakhand. Think of the wetlands of the Ganga, of the Saryu, the water stretches of Bihar, Bengal, Sundarbans, and the basins of the Kaveri. These are the great impressions of our country, and that are important for us in many ways, as I will go forward and explain. Pema Gyatso, thank you for drawing attention to the water towers of Asia, water towers for our subcontinent, and this great work that you have taken forward in this sector. Many examples come to mind, not just of what is happening in terms of the depredation or degradation of water wetlands and some of the flows, but also of improvement. Like my predecessor, the person who went before me, Mr. Verma, the work on the ponds of Haryana that's taking place. We also have examples in other parts of India. Delhi Pond Authority that is trying to maintain the character and the 1 hectare protection for our remaining wetlands. The work that's happening in Uttar Pradesh on wetlands and wasteland management. A great example is, those of you who'd like to know of conservation, is the Sirpur Lake and Wetland in Indore. I'll draw your attention to that. And when you do that, we think of the Beals of Assam and some of the wetlands that have been preserved by communities in that area, including in Manipur and areas of West Bengal. I draw attention, and please do not forget this ever, the significance of Baudis of Haryana, Baudis of Rajasthan, and also the role that they have played over centuries. The traditional structures of water in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, which are by themselves embellishments of a World Heritage Site for itself. There are various examples I'll take forward, but I have 2 points to make which are very important here. One, wetlands and water management, the issue, the role that they play. This role is at the time of scarcity, at the time of excess, at the time of flood, at the time of drought, and in normalcy. So in every stage of our lives, in every excess or every shortage, we find that there is a role that they play. And because it's such a complex subject, my first and major recommendation at this point of time is to take forward what Mr. Bharatlal had also said, is to have expertise development around this particular sector. We need people who are engineers, people who understand water, people who understand the requirement, because it cannot be just done on the basis of sight and experience alone. This requires science, it requires knowledge, it requires input into capacity, similar to what is happening in countries outside India, United States of America, Israel, Australia, Netherlands, UK, Germany. They are developed countries, yes, but they also have huge amounts of expertise on this. Our engineers, our water experts are also providing inputs to them. We have enough and sufficient knowledge, but we don't see enough people who are in this particular sector. And I think Mr. Vivek Saxena understands what I'm saying, and perhaps this could be an aspect by itself, and how could we provide this capacity going forward for the future. The other aspect I would say is that in terms of the disconnect between wetlands and water, the first requirement is that of basin management. Looking at a district, looking at a landscape, looking at a state or a area where the rivers flow, what they connect up, who are the tributaries, where does it flow into. That entire aspect of basin management is the first starting point, because with that, we are able to understand the interplay of cities, of industries, of agriculture, and other resources that we require. Next point, we need to regulate groundwater withdrawal. It is necessary for our work, for our food, but it needs to be regulated in terms of that we are not putting sufficient amount of recharge into our aquifers as we are taking out from them. And this can be done by government, this can be done by the state governments. And again here, the engineering expertise in this exists. I think the policymakers need to take cognizance of what is required here. The Niti Aayog has given the direction both in terms of the disaster that stares us in the face and the solutions that we can start. And we have started in several areas to take this forward. Bharatlal ji talked about the huge role of wetlands in water security and their ecological services. These are well-known issues. However, I'd like to point out another thing which we forget quite often. In the withdrawal of water, the priority for water, wetlands, for rivers, first priority is of drinking water. The second is for food and agriculture, which is livelihood also related. The third is for industry. So drinking water, agriculture, industry. But somehow we always miss out on those who have the first call on water. Aquatic life, birds, fish, gharial, dolphin, mahasir. They too have a role to play, because through them, the ecological services, the flows, and the natural characteristic of our water systems are maintained. So we need to think about them as well and allocate some amount of time and attention and resources towards that. I know it's not possible everywhere, but putting aside areas for under Ramsar Convention, putting aside areas for community reserves, putting aside areas that require for conservation for the fact that they are important in that place. I think a notification has gone for the Aravali Biodiversity Park, which Vivek Saxena mentioned earlier before the talk started. These are very, very important aspects. And of course, citizens have a major role to play in this. But again, जैसे हिंदुस्तानी के एक तरीके से एक दिल में जगह है, वो जगह उनके लिए भी है जो नेचुरल सिस्टम्स के ऊपर डिपेंड करते हैं और जिनकी जिंदगी उसके अलावा कोई उनको यूनिवर्स नहीं है. I'm mentioning wildlife, birds, aquatic life, and others. So we need some space for them in a glass that is half full. Other thing, the role of communities, the protection communities, जो हमारी विरासत, जैसे वर्मा साहब ने बोला, इस तरीके से अगर महसूस करें अपनी, तो इससे बहुत फर्क पड़ता है. और इससे हमारा जितने भी हम पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं इस सेमिनार में, इस वेबिनार में, it is our role to play to be able to be citizens, to be able to get communities together, to learn from them, take guidance for them, take their leadership, and help and support in whatever way we can do this. I'll go forward to other systems. Mention is made, we are centered around topics of Haryana quite a lot in this particular webinar. So in the last 30 years, I have seen the way the deterioration or the reduction or partial improvement in some areas that Vivek Saxena and other mentioned, Bhatkal, Dhauj, Bindavas, Sultanpur, Najafgarh. In the last 30 years, I have seen a gradual decline in terms of the ecosystems and the water capacity that is there. The drying out, reduction, surface, you can see the surface now, salinity, and all other features. ये तो एक तरीके से एक साइड है, लेकिन दूसरी साइड जो हम देख रहे हैं वो कभी-कभी इसके बैलेंस में हम कभी नहीं इस तरीके से नहीं सोचते. वो क्या है? Last 30 years में Gurgaon has become a global city. It is being maintained by a water regimen, which is very difficult, but it is providing livelihood and, in a way, a national and international impact in the presence of what it was. 30 years ago, Gurgaon did not exist the way it is. It is the first city today in many ways. Haryana is also sustaining and improving and going forward with urban development in Panipat, Karnal. We have examples of Chandigarh, there, Ambala, there are several other areas. So on one side, we also realize that it's not that it's always a deterioration. Even urban spaces are important and they provide a huge impact for our society today. However, they need to be better planned and better planned from the small critical aspect of how much water is available to us. So the integrated management system, the integrated planning that is required in this kind of thing, the kind of challenges we see in areas like Faridabad, those are some things that we don't need to see again, and we have to go forward in this particular way. Swatantra Kumar ji mentioned Khajehar. Khajehar, जिन्होंने नहीं देखा खजियार पुराने टाइम से, उनको शायद ये बात महसूस नहीं होगी, लेकिन Khajehar was a floating island of grass in a wetland that was absolutely unique. And on the edge of it, people came to worship and people came to pay homage to nature and to the local deities. These are, it's very difficult to imagine it today. We cannot restore it back to what it was, but we can prevent further deterioration from taking place. These are aspects that are important. I would mention 4 points here that have been given me with regard to the linkage of water and water management. One, water allocation needs to take into account the needs of wetlands and rivers. Examples, Kela Deo Ghana, Bhindawas, flood management. Also, the requirement of the river Yamuna as it enters Delhi, as it flows towards Agra, and as it meets the Ganga in Allahabad. All these things are important in that sense. Land use planning that looks at catchment and hence degrade wetland health. Examples हैं, Bangalore का mention हुआ था. There's examples of wetlands in Bashithalli, where my organization has been involved in restoration. These need to be looked at. Third, wetlands and basins are not managed together. Basin managers are not capacitated to integrate wetland management and wetland conservation in basin planning and basin management. Examples हैं इसमें. Aral River, मुरादाबाद के पास, बरेली के पास, रामगंगा जो बिजनौर के पास जो एग्जाम्पल्स हैं, जहाँ पे पुरानी रिवर बेसिन्स को रिजुवनेट करके millions of gallons of water has been restored back into, for the betterment of agriculture, for the betterment of the ecosystem. Fourth, development plans, scheme programs of ministries and line departments have to be coordinated to prevent further degradation and to improve and to make positive impacts. So a scheme program, I mean, if this coordination may happen, and this is coming together under, at least in the central ministries, the way water has been brought under one, this is a very important step. And we know that things are going to become better, but the way it will go forward is complex. The time that will take in is long, but hopefully for the first time we see some kind of a way, an objective that is in front of us. If we don't address these 4 wetland and water management will go in different directions, and that's not what we want. So the examples we saw of conservation of ponds, the examples that being set in declaration of Ramsar sites, the examples that we are looking at in managing and understanding Central Asian highways, flyways, Central Asian flyways, that is an initiative of the Ministry of Environment and Forests. These are great things that are being set aside. Internationally, countries are looking at us for examples, because India has always seemed to be with many challenges and with initiatives that it comes up because of people like yourselves to to meet those challenges and go forward. With that, I'd request that whenever we think of this, thank you for bringing attention to Sultanpur. Thank you for bringing attention to places like Bhindavas. And we hope the wetlands like Chandu and Basai and others like Dhoj may also see improvement. With that, I would request that those who are interested in this, I would like to come forward together with Wetlands International to take some of you out to actually see your country, see our country, to see the practical things that are happening, and also that everything is not negative, not just what's happening around ponds and villages, village communities, but also larger impacts around bigger wetlands and river flows. So with that, thank you, Vivek Saxena ji. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Achal. I can go on like this. We can talk about birds and gharial, and we can talk about dolphins, and we can talk about creatures and animals and wildlife that depend on water. We can also talk about communities and what they're doing and how much this is important for my country and how much we think of it. And we are just very close at this point of time to bridging those gaps and making great examples going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you, Ravi Singh ji, that for your very valuable and informative comments. Certainly looking forward to strengthen our network and take just seeing our country, seeing by example, so that those success stories can be upscaled. Well, once again, thank you very much. Yeah, Achal, please continue.
Absolutely. We can go on listening to you, sir, but due to paucity of time, we cannot. Unfortunately, we cannot. And we do agree with you all on the terms. Thank you for sharing such valuable information accompanied with some great examples and some beneficial recommendations. Thank you. Moving on to our last panelist for our webinar series for today, we have with us Miss Archana Chatterjee, Head International Union for Conservation of Nature, India Office. Miss Archana Chatterjee has been associated with the International Union for Conservation of Nature and has extensively worked on wetlands management and other natural resource management programs. You may take over, ma'am. Miss Archana Chatterjee, I hope I'm audible to you, and I hope you are with us. All right, I can see you, ma'am. Can you please unmute yourself? Yes.
So now the host has allowed me to unmute. Otherwise, I could not unmute earlier.
Our apologies, ma'am. Please.
Thank you. First of all, thanks to Dr. Vivek Saxena and Dr. Ritesh for giving this opportunity to IUCN to be present at this very important webinar series. I work with IUCN, and Achal has already told a bit about it. Being the last panelist, I think it has its own advantages because most of the points have already been covered with respect to the two points on which the panelists had to reflect. Just to introduce very quickly our organization, International Union for Conservation of Nature, established in 1948, is a membership union comprised of government as state members and civil society organizations. We have close to 100+ state members throughout the world and over 1,400 total memberships. Over 18,000 experts globally are members of the 6 iconic IUCN commissions, the key one being the Species Survival Commission, which brings out the red list of species, which is very well known globally. Within India, IUCN was established office was established in 2007 under an MOU with Government of India, with MOFCC as the nodal ministry. So basically, with respect to wetlands, these are very close to my heart. And in fact, my professional journey started in WWF working with the Himalayan high altitude wetlands. And therefore, these are my passion. And also we have tried to work under various projects within IUC and also connecting with the wetlands. The theme for today's Wetlands Day, Wetlands Action for People and Nature, focuses on how to invest our human resources into ensuring the world's wetlands are protected from further loss and restored wherever we can currently do so. On the bridging disconnect between water and wetlands management, I would like to just say one point with respect to our the wetland rules in India, that within the wetland rules 2017 and even in 2010 that were brought out, rivers were left out as under the wetland category. And therefore, I do see that as the root cause of the problem for the disconnect between the water management, which is linking rivers and the wetlands. As we have seen from what Mr. Ravi Singh mentioned, that the Himalayan high altitude wetlands, they play such an important role buffering the glacier melt water and bringing it down to our rivers. And similarly, the floodplain wetlands, whose the livelihoods of people depend on these wetlands. Under one of our projects where we were working on sustainable agriscapes in the Munger region of Bihar, Munger district of Bihar, there is a very interesting ahar and pine system, which is a system of wetland ponds connected by channels. And when the river Ganga floods, these ponds are filled up with water, and the channels, the various channels, they are responsible, they serve the irrigation needs of the farmers, farming community in Munger. But due to the neglect of these systems, these have been encroached upon and the whole system has been destroyed and is not providing the services that it should be providing free of cost. So under our Sustainable Agriscapes project, we have tried to work with communities on restoring these lost connections with nature and restoring these wetlands to serve as important livelihood options through fisheries and also irrigation water, providing irrigation water for the farmers there. In another work that we are doing, just one example from, so many examples have already been given. We have worked on Deepor Beel also. We know about East Kolkata wetlands, how important the role they have played in treating the wastewater. Deepor Beel in attenuating the flood impact in the Guwahati city. IUCN has been working on transboundary water management too, and that is one of our strong areas of work, where we have been looking at the Ganges Brahmaputra Meghna Basin. And within Meghna Basin, our focus has been, this is a basin, as you all may be knowing, shared between India and Bangladesh. And within India, the state of Meghalaya is a key upstream state, which is so critical for the haors or the beels and the wetlands in Bangladesh, because the watershed up in the Meghalaya region and the rivers originating from these watersheds are the lifeline for the haors in Bangladesh. And if the watersheds are not managed properly in Meghalaya, the siltation, the flash floods, they destroy the fisheries in Bangladesh and the rice cultivation. And even within the state, these create a lot of flooding problems, etc. So therefore, the water management is very critically linked between the rivers and the wetlands. And therefore, one of the critical things that we need to do to bridge the disconnect is to bring them together, think of them together. I think government is doing enormous work, be it spring shed conservation or what Mr. Bharatlal was mentioning about the Jal Jeevan Mission. They are increasingly looking at this in an integrated manner, and we do hope that these will provide the services and the livelihood opportunities that nature has provided us free of cost as the natural infrastructure. One last point, IUCN is the international organization partner for Ramsar Convention, and along with the other IOPs, we had put forward an emergency, the plan for consideration of the contracting parties, which was all about environmental flows, restoring environmental flows, improving water quality, protecting and restoring habitats, managing the exploitation of the freshwater species, preventing and controlling non-native invasive species, and safeguarding and restoring river connectivity as the key priority elements for protection of the wetlands. So with these points, I'll stop here and over to you, Aanchal.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so very much, ma'am. That was commendable. I think the initiatives taken by you and the organization is commendable. And knowing about you and the organization more in detail is once again overwhelming for all of us. Thank you for joining in. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the concluding remarks. So I would like to request Dr. Vivek Saxena ji, Indian Forest Service Officer, to kindly give his concluding remarks and share some takeaways, if any.
Thank you, Achal, and really grateful to all the distinguished panelists throughout the webinar series, which started on 24th, and this is the last part of the webinar series, and the interest which has generated is really, really very encouraging, and especially grateful for the today's eminent our panelists, Justice Swatant Kumar ji, Shri Bharat Lal ji, Ricky K, Mr. Ravi Singh, Archana Chatterjee, Dr. Prabhakar Verma, and I hope I have not missed anyone else. So each and everyone who have really encouraged us, and especially Haryana Chief Minister Shri Manohar Lal Khattar ji, Haryana Forest Minister Shri Kanwar Pal ji, Union Environment, Forest and Climate Change Minister Shri Bhupender Yadav ji, and Union Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate Change Shri Ashwini Chaubey ji, Director General of Forest and Special Secretary Shri C.P. Goyal ji, Shri Dr. S.P. Yadav, who heads the Tiger Authority and also is the ADG Wildlife as well as Member Secretary Central Zoo Authority, and especially from the Ministry also Advisor Mr. Bhatt, Joint Secretary Ms. Manju Pandey. I may be missing some of these names who have really made this webinar series and discussions really meaningful. In between, we really had a physical event at Sultanpur National Park where we had the blessings and messages from the key dignitaries. The real success of the wetland management lies when at the topmost political support level, political will, as well as the administrative mechanism for the governance mechanism is integrated with the support of the civil society organizations, bringing all the relevant stakeholders, the involving citizens, and also convincing the development practitioners that they have to ensure, while certainly development is also needed, but at the same time, we can't ignore the nature which has provided ecosystem services. We have to recognize or we have to respect them. Otherwise, again, we can see many type of catastrophic such type of incidences like we are witnessing in some of a pandemic present, lot of you can say pollution issues, so that whatever you invest in this urban development practices and all, later on you end up with spending more or more expenditure in correcting those your mistakes, and then addressing this is very really challenging. It adversely affect the human health, our resources, because we need a cleaner water resources and all. So some of the, because already this time has overshot, and because this webinar originally today was slotted from 10:30 to 12:15, but we can say already by more than 1 hour we have exceeded the time limit. So the key, just I will summarize the key concluding points. The one thing is the certainly the need for regulation of wetlands that needs to be strengthened. Mr. Bharat Lal also emphasized on increasing water use efficiency and dependency of water supply will reduce water stress on wetland because water resources are limited. Certainly, regional cooperation on wetlands is needed to share best practices, especially like when we talk of regional cooperation, it is also intergovernmental cooperation also, and we were really grateful to have Pema Gelchen from the DG of the EC board, and The Haryana model on the real-time database management, it can be certainly upscaled and replicated for management of small wetlands in other areas. Water allocation needs to take into account needs of the wetlands, and also we need to approach wetlands from the river basin perspective. As Dr. Archana, I'm really grateful for her also from IUCN, who has been my former colleague also, highlighting that somehow wetland rules in 2017 have missed some of this part and rivers to be also included. I think these are the important inputs. While summarizing this webinar conclusion, we'll be submitting to the ministry also with this. And at last, I am really grateful to Wetland International South Asia, WWF, IUCN, and all GIZ also participated. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, my Principal Chief Conservator of Forest and Chief Wildlife Warden, Mr. Jagdish Chandra, Mr. Prabhakar Verma from the Pond Authority, and all those who have really supported these discussion deliberations in organizing this webinar series, as well as for the displaying our things and during the event at Sultanpur National Park. And I'm really sorry to note that somehow that day, Dr. Prabhakar Verma has mentioned that he had put up a very good exhibition somehow with the constraint of time and but certainly we will have something planned so that our Chief Minister as well as Union Environment Minister will be getting a presentation on the good work which the Haryana Pond Development Authority has undertaken. And I'm really also thankful to Achal, who has really driven and coordinated this webinar series so well and well articulated, so that to keep the interest sustaining also in webinars, especially in the online mode, is also really very challenging. And with these words, I thank each and everyone once again for participating in today's webinar, and special thanks to Ricky Cage and all Ravi Singh ji, and each and everyone, all the participants. And somehow today's interest was so much that I think we could not take any of the questions. If you have any suggestions, questions, you can send it on by mail and we will certainly respond to you. Thank you very much once again.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much. And we are thankful to such enthusiastic, amazing audience. We are highly obliged. Once again, I want to convey my heartfelt gratitude to our guests. We really feel gratified to have such distinguished personalities with us. हम आप सभी के बहुत आभारी हैं. धन्यवाद. And we hope that we have more webinars like these in the upcoming months or weeks maybe. So see you soon, everybody, and take good care of yourself. Stay connected, stay safe. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.